Round number 12 of this WOR Legacy Division season is about to get underway with drivers now on the track, and I'm very proud to be back with you. It's Jota alongside PGS James Head for what is going to be an absolutely fascinating Japanese Grand Prix. Thanks for being alongside us for this WOR Legacy Division race, and thank you very much to every single one of you as well, just from a personal perspective, as well yourself, James, for some wonderful well wishes as well over the period of time that I was on my sabbatical. What a season that has flown by, though.
What a season, yeah, what a season that has flown by indeed. Should be very interesting. Glad to have you back, by the way, Jota. It's been an absolute misery without you, I've got to say. Ross Greenhorn, by the way, has done a fantastic job as well in terms of commentary in your absence. He's been an absolute phenomenal asset to have here in WOR Legacy Division. But you're back, the GOAT is back, and we are back here, of course, in Japan for the first time ever in Legacy Division. And let's have a reminder, of course, what happened last week in terms of the actual racing on track. Of course, it was Liam Bowman, the Flying Scotsman, who took the win. Yossi finishing in second, Furious there in third, and Jota, of course, you weren't there last week, but Liam Bowman, Flying Scotsman on top, but Yossi, crucially, getting that 5-second penalty removed.
Yeah, and obviously that ends up taking out what was actually a really good performance from NLR, who obviously just can't get their season under wraps. They managed to get the three podiums. I'll get there in the end. 3 podiums throughout this season, but just not able to edge their way forward, and currently 7th overall. And in the end, you're looking towards the front, and Outplayed Racing, F7R and Veloce Academy absolutely showing their money's worth at the moment out there throughout the season. But Outplayed Racing, the leaders in this championship, are currently struggling a little bit out there at the moment. They're out of form, and they are struggling with the pressure at the moment from F7R, who are flying out on circuit.
Yeah, they are indeed. Outplayed Racing have been a little bit under the cosh, I've got to say. They're in first position currently in the championship standings, 372 points to their name. F7R, of course, in second on 349. Their form, though, has been absolutely brilliant. You mentioned there, 8 podiums, I think, they've had all season for F7R. So it's been fantastic to see how they have been getting on. Apologies, by the way, if you're experiencing a few technical issues on the stream, and that's Jota fixing everything. It has been a while since he has been
just not me just having to resell everything in the moment. Obviously, I've been away for so many weeks. Apologies. We'll get that one sorted out. There we are. Should be all well and good at the moment. Yeah, you were saying.
Yeah, I was saying as well, Veloce Academy third on 259 points, but they have lost their bread and butter, almost, if you like. Kai Pearson and Reese Linton moving to Room TM. A phenomenal move, I've got to say, from their perspective. Congratulations to them. Hopefully everything goes well on their end. But Veloce now missing their best drivers. Should be interesting to see how they get on. They have recruited, though, the current championship leader in PSGL in terms of Max Grosspartner, who is going to be on a lap very soon indeed. It's Gabor, Nando, Markdos currently in the top 3 out there in qualifying. Chem asking in the chat, I can't tell people if people ask where is Jarno as a joke of they're being serious. They are being serious. Jarno's not here. He's somewhere in the Maldives, I think.
Yeah, somewhere indeed in the Maldives at the moment as well. Glad to see that the F1 Esports community, or F1 Sim Racing community, I think as it's now known as, are absolutely loving life in the Maldives at the moment, as we're following ET8's Havmik at the moment as well. ET8, another one of the teams actually that have been a bit disappointing, haven't they, this season? Not really able to get their season going. They didn't actually take part in Monaco at all. Obviously, Nexus in that sort of seat before they ended up arriving on the scene. Only the one podium to their name, actually, at the British Grand Prix. But ever since then, still struggling in the low depths of 10th place at the moment, actually behind Parnell Racing, who only took part in 5 races before departing themselves.
Yeah, I remember as well, back in Silverstone, Matteo had that podium finish in Silverstone, and from there, they've really dropped it, I think. Havmik, they were very, very consistent Norwegian driver here. Hazara, formerly of Team Norway Racing as well, where he has done most of his work in the league racing community. Phenomenal to see him back here tonight. Havmik, by the way, is coming now through Spoon Curve on the run up the hill in toward 130 on the fastest part of this circuit here in qualifying 1. He is on a set of soft compound tyres, so we are going to see, at least in terms of the times around here, a bit of consistency and a bit of a benchmark that we can set here in Q1 as now Havmik comes through the Casio Triangle in towards the right-hander turn number 18. They have removed the bump there, luckily, so no catching on your torsos or anything like that. It is a 26.9 from Havmik, and that is a very consistent lap, given how the conditions are overcast here. Very strong lap from Havmik there. It is Gabor in second, Nando there in third. Liam Bowman, by the way, saying in the chat, apparently he's in the Maldives right now. I do not believe that for 1 second. You're not having me on in the chat.
No, everyone loves the Maldives. We're in the Maldives. We're in the Maldives, and it's all going to be fun forever long. As we just keeping an eye out at the moment on, you may be wondering actually, just in the bottom of the screen down in 14th place about Drobble in the Williams. Okay, so that's, as you may know, that's Novus Racing's Drobble at the moment, taking part in a qualifying ban as a result of a break of curfew. So only one of the Williams will be qualifying, and that would be Ogween, and obviously a former NRX man now racing again, as we said, with Novus. It's going to be an interesting one for Ogween, because he's been one for from my historical prevalence of what I remember from Ogween as he's just leaving the pits right now, he was one who was just not able to get that sort of consistency going, towards the beginning of the season, and then sort of blown out a little bit ever since joining Novus. And I think, actually slowly becoming a team to be reckoned with are Novus, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they've got coming up next season. Looking on the back of when I was obviously part of the esports community before I took my break, we had the likes of PSR and the Talent Factory all here. Now they're all gone. Suddenly, teams like Novus are starting to shine a light a little bit in this community.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's good to see them as well, because cosplay championships are very, very hard to come by. Ogween, formerly a Team Valor from Season 2. I remember him in Team Valor, and I remember him in Saudi Arabia, I think it was, and he picked up a top 10 finish there. And we were thinking, this might be just the site that we get to see with Ogween in terms of him. He's been a little bit disappointing from the Novus Racing perspective, though, so far this season. Drobble, by the way, getting a qualifying ban as a result of a change in their lineup. So that is why Drobble there has already at the session, so you can count him out. Currently in the drop zone, though, imagine if this happens. Maxwell's partner, Yossi, and Tom, all out of Q1. I don't think it'll happen, but you never know. Wishful thinking and all that. Havmik out on top, though, Gabor in second, Nando there in third. We are going to go on board, though, with, I think, a Haas coming through the final corners, and that, I believe, is the man in 10th position, FRT Dan, who's just setting up on a lap now, looking to try and follow in the footsteps of FRT. Harvey, of course, a little bit earlier on in the season, running now down in towards the right-hander of turn number 1 at the right-hander of turn number 1, then through the right-hander of turn number 2. Nicely done indeed. Havmik from Gabor from Nando currently in the top 3, but Dan now coming through the slithering snake S-section, as I like to call it around here, or just the S-section, coming now through 5 and then in towards 6, and then in toward the Dunlop curve. Looking a very consistent first sector right now. Just wants to try and snap at you. Coming out through Dunlop curve. Now coming in towards the right hand with Degner 1. It's a 31-1, way up on his time so far. And Dan looking very consistent so far in this lap.
Yeah, I mean, FRT obviously looking to try and get something on the cards here as well, of course. The first of the drivers on the soft tyre, of course, remember, a bit of a real lock-up, actually, for the FRT man. But you are right in that, this is the first run now that we're seeing of people who are actually deciding they're going to run on the soft tyres, as NLR's Keke, 5-place grid penalty for illegal blocking. Weirdly enough restart at the moment, so I'm wondering if that's going to be a restart at the end of this qualifying session, as we're just keeping out through Spoon Corner. FRT Dan will go, as he now will head towards the Sector 2 split, and we'll see his time will obviously be much faster than that of the intermediate, 5.5 seconds indeed, but Purple second sector beating ET8's Havmik by a couple of tenths by the looks of things into the final corner at the triangle, of course, and then that Haas driver will be actually very, very quick on the throttle, actually, a bit of a snap coming through the Casio triangle, but very happy indeed with a 26.6.
Yeah, very solid lap from him. Marcador's, by the way, just starting up on a lap. I'm on board with Nando right now, the Portuguese man in 4th position, fresh from a race win in PSGL last week. Not yesterday, but last week in terms of Nando, and a 1:09.9 in the middle sector, way up on what Dan was setting. We are going to see more times go forward, though. Joe Murphy there going quickest, 26.5. Max Squirrel's partner, PSGL Championship leader now going quickest with the 26.4. Nando looking very, very quick indeed. Could be a 26.3, I think, from Nando. Comes across the line, goes second. Not a bad lap there at all from him. Max Squirrel's partner, though, out on top. Nando in second, Joe Murphy in third. If you are wondering, by the way, is that going to be a lobby restart? Yes, it will. We always have lobby restarts. It's not Japan without a lobby restart and illegal blocking, and it's not illegal blocking without Japan.
Just keeping an eye out on Shazoo's Tom as he comes across the line. He's absolutely livid with himself coming out the Casio triangle, losing the rear. Definitely lost at least a couple of tenths, but he would have been on the par to possibly be in the sort of BRT Murphy sort of range here for certain on that one, as I'm just looking in the background of what seems to have been a little bit of, I was hoping that it looked like a bit of an Urpex situation from F7R, of course, on a lap at the moment. On board with Matthew Hall at the moment as he goes through through Spoon Corner. Good lap, though, from Max Grosspointer, of course, for the Veloce Academy in the Red Bull. Looking sharp indeed, though, is Matthew Hall himself as he comes across a second sector split, and looking like he's not going to be faster than his teammate, though, on that particular lap. Close, though, proximities between them, and Outplayed Racing maybe as expected, as we were expecting. Of course, the Veloce drivers usually pretty quick, aren't they, actually, around Japan as he comes into the pit lane and absolutely mugs me off for the first time. It didn't take long, did it? Q1, and he mugs me off, and he's into the pit, 17th place.
Yeah, 17th place. Disappointing so far for Veloce Academy. They have got Max Grosspointer, though, out on top, so they have got one of their drivers right at the top end of the field. Of course, Q1 is very, very key around this track as well. We've got that illegal blocking penalty, so we are going to get everyone on a fresh setup, everyone on a fresh compound of tyres as well, of course, when we get that restart. But until then, we get forward into Q2 and Q3, and it remains to be seen how everyone is going to cope. Now, if a driver gets through in terms of a legal blocking penalty and they get through Q1, they get through Q2, they qualify wherever they place. Basically, if they get through to Q3, for example, if they get through to Q3, they will place in the top 10, however, have that 5-second penalty added, and they'll be down technically in around 14th or 15th position if they qualify 10th. Got that? I hope you do. Gabor now on the run to the line with the BRT team. 5th position, goes ahead of Joe Murphy. And how's about that for consistency for Bunga Racing team? Fresh from a podium fresh from a podium a couple of weeks ago, even. Furious, of course, picking up that podium last week for a different team. But Gabor in 5th. 2,000th of a second ahead of Joe Murphy. That's what I like to call consistency.
Yeah, Bunga Racing team obviously were unlucky to lose out on the... in fact, no, they got the 3rd place, didn't they, actually, last week in the Netherlands. I think they were in 2nd place, weren't they, and then ended up getting relegated by that 5-second penalty being given back from Yossi for F7R. So, who himself, by the way, up in the 3rd place at the moment, so looking sharp. And you're right about BRT. I did say that right at the start of the season, didn't I, about BRT? The consistency between that team is always something that I've always admired. It's just a shame that they didn't really get that throughout round 2 through 6. So unfortunately that didn't really sort of come to fruition, but eventually they found that rhythm and of getting at least a couple of podiums. Just unfortunate again that the other team member didn't manage to get on the score sheet at all. So hopefully that will be a little bit of consistency already brewing between Gabor and Murphy at the moment. They're separated by only 0.02 of a second. Following Matthew Hall, by the way, immediately out the pit lane on a fresh set of soft tyres. Marcados retires, by the way, 26.5. He'd be happy with that one. I would as well. Matthew Hall, though, just approaching Spoon Corner now as he looks to get ready for another hot lap if he can get on the board. It'd be helpful for Veloce.
Yeah, definitely so. Top 4, though, have retired in the pit lane, and I don't blame them, to be honest. I would say anybody from Macho needs to go out again. Normally you find a lot of time on this final lap. Normally you find some invalidations as well. Urpex are one of the first out on track that I'm following on board with. He's down in 19th position right now. The former NLR man, now part of F7R, really looking to try and get out of Q1. He's been under pressure, and it's the first time I think that we've seen him in Native Division under pressure so far this season. He's done a fantastic job, though, to get where he is, to get to be towards the top end of the drivers, but he's there down in 19th position. F7R really need to hope that he can actually get a lap time in, because we've got, what, 1 minute and 55 seconds on the clock. He can go for another run, but he's only leaving himself, Jota, with, what, maybe 20 seconds room? This is going to be close for Urpek. If he invalidates this lap, it could be game over.
Yeah, it probably will be game over, actually, here. I was just keeping an eye on Matthew Hall, by the way. So late on the brakes going into turn 1, and that just definitely confirms we'll be having another restart there as Macho, 5th place grid penalty as well. No doubt that will get rescinded. Matthew Hall then going through into the first of the 2 right-handers, then into the second one underneath the bridge. He's so quick on the power, is Matthew, and beating his teammate by a couple of tenths in the first sector alone. He's looking so sharp as he heads through into the hairpin, and he is very, very late on the brakes and very quick on the throttle at the moment. So he's managed to find a little bit of a rhythm going here, as looks like one of the looks like a Haas on the left-hand side just getting out of the way as he then heads into Spoon Corner. It's going to be a critical set of corners here, not to track extend too hard on here, as he again keeps it nice and tidy through Spoon, and then heading down into the 3rd sector, of course, through 130R. 2nd sector looking sharp as well by the looks of things. Purple, and then immediately beaten, apparently, according to this anyway, as he heads then into the final corner at the Casio, final corners rather at the Casio Triangle, and it's been nice to at least do half a lap on this occasion in my commentary return as well. Sorry to make it about me for a second. It's just so nice to be here as he comes across the line, and he does manage to beat Max Grosspointer by just a little bit over a tenth and a half, and there it is, a Veloce 1-2.
Urpek, though, was looking very, very consistent, I've got to say, on his lap right now. F7R Urpek down in 19th position, 110.2 compared to Matthew Hall on a 109.8. That judges to me he's 4 tenths down on his lap, so he's not looking good at the minute. Urpek, he's going to be around Dan, Keki, Tom, potentially that sort of area. Bit shaky coming out of the final corner. He's now powering all the run to the line with Urpek, and he's 12th. 12th position for Urpek. Everyone else improving. Tom is certainly improving. I'm aboard with him. He's the closest to the line right now in the Alfa Romeo, and he's a 109.9, so well up on what Urpek has set in that middle sector. We could be seeing a big shock here with F7R. We saw it with Louis Valentin last week, remember? Yeah. Urpek now on the cusp of potentially going out in Q1. Tom is definitely improving, definitely valid, goes to the line, goes fourth. Big lap time from him. Hazara improving by a 10.5. Grimbo's middle sector as well is slightly down, so Grimbo's is okay. Axelinho, though, goes 11th.
Yeah, really good lap there from Axelinho, and then that's actually putting Urpek under a lot of pressure here now. I'm under the impression here that Urpek is not going to be going for another lap here, so that would be it for the F7R man at the moment. Hazard doesn't look like he's going to be improving for ET8. Grimbos can only go 16th. No. He's out of qualifying for G League, and then here comes then ET8's Havmik. At one point looking sharp, the first person to set the soft lap time, might be one of the last as he comes across the line right now. Stays 17th fastest overall, which is disappointing. ET8 are at risk here with Hazra also not improving as well. He will be through Hazra as it stands. If it isn't, though, for Ogween is looking to improve. It looks like he's not going to be improving either on this lap either. He's a 1.5 down, in fact 3 seconds down in the second sector, so that will be it for those that will be knocked out. Urpek does get through for the skin of his teeth, the same 10th knocked out between him and Grimbos. F7R will be, thank you their lucky stars that they've got at least a second one through. They want to keep that consistency going.
Yeah, Urpek, to be honest, is a very lucky bunny right there. He's 14th position. Hazara and Grimbos only separated by 1400ths of a second, so that was the real danger zone that we had. Urpek, if he didn't get that lap time, he didn't really find that improvement, so potentially going to be one of the favourites to go out in Q2. You mentioned there as well, Grimbos out of Q1. Little bit of a shock, I've got to be honest, from the G League run. I certainly wasn't expecting to see that far down the field, but a 26.8, not consistent enough to get through into Q2. Havmik there down as well, along with both Novus Racing. So Liam Bowman, of course, winning last week in Zandvoort, on pole position last week in Zandvoort as well. Novus Racing, 18th and 20th position. What a difference a week makes in Legacy Division. Tom just ran on board with there in fourth position, but we'll give you the full rundown of the grid before we jump, of course, into Q2, and it is Matthew Hall from our on out on top for Max Quill's partner there in second, Veloce Academy 1-2. How many times are we going to be seeing that tonight? Nando there in third with Tom in fourth, Endo there in fifth with Yossi there in sixth, Markedos in seventh, then Dan, very good lap time from him in the end to go eighth, Gabor there in ninth, and Joe Murphy ran off the top 10. Macho and Keki, by the way, with their 5-second penalties, do go into Q2. It's just in reference to how they qualify at the end of the 3 qualifying sessions. So Macho and Keki, 11th and 12th, they'll remain in Q2, along with Axelinho, Urpek, Hazara. Grimbo's out by 1400ths of a second in the end. Havmik very close as well, 8,000ths of a second behind Grimbo's. So very, very tight indeed. Ogween there in 18th. Supply Raptor there in 19th, out for FRT. And Drobble, of course, for that qualifying ban, out for Novus Racing as well. But that brings an end to Q1. What have we got looked forward to, Jota, in Q2?
Well, we've got another 15 drivers out there looking to get going with another exciting round of racing in ahead of us, of course, as I've just decided to click the commentary one for some reason. I will get there. I'm a bit rusty on that one. We are looking forward to, though, what I think is going to be an exciting Q2, though, ahead of us, because what we've got is, the likes of some fascinating results, I think, are eventually beginning. I think Veloce, off the back of some pretty bad news in their roster, obviously losing some pretty big names, are now sort of saying, I think a lot of people are starting to assume Veloce might not be quite in this here, but then they're showing in Japan, as we might have expected maybe from their quality of their drivers, that they're leading from the front here. And I think if they end up putting F7R under some pressure, Outplayed Racing are going to start to benefit from that one, of course. And the fact of, forever the consistent man that Yossi is, I'm fully expecting him to be towards the front, but I'm not discounting Urpek, despite the poor Q1 from him. From yourself, though, James, I think G League, I know there was a team that you were supporting right at the beginning of this season. Disappointed to see one of them out, but Enzo through, and he didn't get through only just. He got through pretty clean.
He did get through pretty clean, and to be honest, Enzo was one of the more consistent drivers for G League, which is really good to see. Really good to see one of their drivers, at least in Q2, possibly going forward into Q3. They were bounded about by me, I've got to say, in terms of the qualifying predictions, in terms of the commentary predictions that we had at the start of the season. I had G League for 8th position, and that's where they currently are in the championship. So G League are doing a fantastic job. Come to show what I know in terms of G League, certainly, and their performances out on track. But speaking of out on track, we are now getting Q2 underway once again. Everyone now on, I would assume, a used set of soft compound tyres, or majority of drivers at least, going for a used set. But remember, we saw Max Grohl's partner in the pits for a good part of Q1. He has saved a fresh set of soft compound tyres. So I wonder if drivers potentially, with a forward eye view to the race, I wonder if drivers are looking at a potential hard soft strategy around here.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye out on Tom. So Tom is going to be the front runner then of all of these drivers as well. I think James, of course, he's going to be the first to set a lap time here for Team Shazoo Alfa Romeo Kick Racing Formula One team. And it's going to be, I think, a bit of an interesting one for Tom, of course, because, again, ever the consistent runner that he is, of course, maintaining his status within Shazoo, wanting to try and just get that sort of tyres underway, get them going for what will be, I'm sure, a quick lap indeed around this Japanese circuit. Just behind, by the way, one of the Alpha Tauris of NLR as well. Big shout from NLR as well, Axelinho. Immediately putting the likes of F7R Urpec under pressure with a cracking lap to get through to Q2 as well. So gonna keep out, just keep your eye on NLR as well. I think Axelinho as well, because I could see an Alpha Tauri make a visit in Q3. Here comes Tom though, as he now starts a lap. James, gonna put you on the spot, take us away around the lap.
Yeah, let's run on board then with Tom down in towards turn 1 with the Alfa Romeo man. Very consistent results in the past round 2, of course, with Tom. Now comes to the right-hander of turn number 2, and then in towards the S section of turns 3, 4, 5, and then 6. They come at you literally like punchers in a 12-round knockout bout, as now comes to the right-hander of turn 6, and then toward the Dunlop curve. Famously, with the Japanese eye on the right-hand side there, coming through that part of the track, now in towards the Degner 1 and the end of the first sector. And a 31-1 suggests to me he's on a set of soft compound tyres. Coming out through the right-hander of Degner 2, running up the hill now in towards the hairpin. Famously where Daniel Kvyat went off in the grass back in 2016 or 2017, I think it was. Through the hairpin nicely with Tom. A little bit of lag coming through there, but it's okay from Tom as he runs now down the hill in towards Spoon Curve. It's looked very, very consistent so far on this lap, albeit I think he is on a used set, so watch out for his lap time and watch out for other drivers on a lap time as well. But Tom now coming through Spoon Curve, runs out wide slightly, taking my line through there, which is very neat indeed. Now on the run up the hill in towards 130R, one of the fastest sections on the track. The 110.3 definitely suggests to me he's on a set of used set even of soft compound tyres. Now comes in toward the Casio Triangle through 16 and then through the left-hand of turn 17, then towards the bump corner at turn 18. That's a lap of Japan. That's a lap of Suzuka. Tom now on the run to the line. 26.9. We should see lap times though to get toward the end of the 26s as the session goes on. Keki now going quickest down there in third, and Macho now goes a tenth and a half quicker than Keki. Yeah, I mean
26.7 on a set of used soft tyres is not bad going. Urpec also showing a 26.7 as well on this one. Here comes one of the Mercedes Hazra for ET8, 26.8 for him. One of the Alpines coming up now, and here comes G League's Enzo. It's the last one of the drivers, and he has not been able to set a lap time on this occasion, or it was a extended lap indeed on that one. Yossi coming across the line though, another 26.7 on the board, 0.02 of a second slower though than Shazoo's Macho. And then here comes another one of the drivers. I believe that was Gabor coming across the line for BRT, 127.4, a line bit off the pace. It's probably again on a used set of soft tyres. So one driver out on a hot lap at the moment by the looks of things, and it is G League's Enzo, the sole G League driver in the Alpine. Then of course the French outfit in the French team, going in through the right hander, a bit wide through that corner, not going to get on the power as much as he wants here. And you can see he's already used up a lot of his power already on the energy recovery system, and he's already below 10% here. I'm wondering actually if this is even going to be a lap time worth noting here.
No, he had an invalid lap on his first run, and that's why you're seeing the low level of EOS. He might try and go for a run and just set a bit of a delta time, then come back round and waste everyone's time and waste his own time, I've got to say, in terms of the fuel, because he's got very low fuel load. And in fact, actually, speaking of which, he's just run out of fuel coming out through Spoon Curve, and Enzo currently down in 11th position. But drivers, again, opting not to go out. Max Gold's partner has came out of sync compared to everyone else. He's there coming through the first sector. Matthew Hall doing exactly the same thing as well. OP taking a different stand, though. Marcados and Nando are now coming out the pit lane as I speak. So Marcados and Nando coming out of the pit lane right and behind. Is this potentially to get in the mentality of Veloce Academy? Because OP, Marcados and Nando, two very consistent drivers. Max and Matthew Hall, two very consistent drivers. Are OP looking to try and find an advantage around here rather than a disadvantage?
Potentially. All I know is that I just want to keep looking at that Ferrari livery because it's absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? That red and white livery that's going to be seen, I think, for the foreseeable at the moment in that for the Outplayed Racing Ferrari team. But Max Grospoint at the moment is currently on a very slow lap at the moment, and a sneaky suspicion that those tyres are going to be dipping in temperature at the moment because it is pretty chilly out there at the moment, actually. About 5 degrees lower than maybe what you would expect at 22 on circuit at the moment, according to my, to be fair, I'm saying that actually it is due an update, so it probably is wrong saying that. But 22 degrees apparently on circuit at the moment, which is actually pretty cold at the moment, so you don't want to go too slow, otherwise you're not actually going to get your tyres freshly warmed up. But it will be Matthew Hall, by the looks of things, who's going to be starting the front runners at the moment. We're expecting big laps coming in then from the Veloce Academy as he gets a little bit of a wiggle on through the Casio Triangle and starts his lap now.
He does start his lap indeed now on the run down in towards turn number 1 with Matthew Hall. Just a little bit of an update from the PSGL side of things in terms of qualifying around here. Marcados was the one that was out on top in qualifying, a 25.7 at the end of an 18-minute qualifying session. Urpek was second, Wiener there in third. So 2 out of the top 3 in qualifying there in Japan. Here, once again, tonight, as we have right on board with Matthew Hall in toward the Dunlop curve, gets out the way there of a Alfa Romeo on the left-hand side, but Matthew Hall looking very good through the first sector, 31 flat, right on there, coming through Degner 1, through Degner 2, I'm validating around here, did actually set pole position around here in my league race as well, which I'm just going to boast off on WOR because nobody watches me actually race, as Matthew Hall comes through the hairpin, takes a very thin line, and it didn't really get him the proper exit coming out of the corner, so Matthew Hall really needs to try and find a little bit of time now coming in towards the spoon curve. It's Urpek for Macho from Yossi currently in the top 3. We should see, as I say, drivers improving, absolute threefold on their laps. Now coming down the hill comes Matthew Hall. His middle sector split is going to be interesting to know. It's going to be around a 110 flat, I think, through the middle sector. It is a 110 flat through the middle sector. Just getting out of the way is a Haas on the right-hand side. Again, the Haas livery updated from the last patch as Matthew Hall comes through the left-hand of the Casio Triangle on the run to the line then with the Xbox man, formerly, of course, NOX Cindery. Matthew Hall to the line, goes quick as 26.4. That's more like it in terms of lap time.
Yeah, more like it than perhaps what we would expect, but there is a little bit more time, I think, out there at the moment with just over 6.5 minutes to go. Gross Pointer coming across the line. That is what I was expecting. 26.1. From the Veloce Academy man. Great lap indeed. We are still waiting on the lap times coming in from Outplayed Racing though. Nando had a cracking second sector actually. Going through then that right-hander as he then comes across the line as Outplayed Racing. Nando goes second fastest with a 26.3. Marcados didn't get the best exit out of the Casio Triangle, so he might be struggling a little bit. Comes across the line now. 26.346 it was, but is invalid. So it would have been second fastest beating Nando, but he has invalidated his lap, and that is going to put some pressure on Ferrari and Outplayed Racing from a team that you claim, I'm saying, James, you're just claiming it, may have been putting the pressure on the Veloce Academy.
Yeah, Marcados put pressure on himself with that invalidation, unfortunately, on that lap time. He's down there in 15th position, as I say, P2, a qualified pole position, actually, around here in PSGL, PSF1, so he has got good form around this track. He actually ended up in that race finishing in 4th position, so he was still very consistent come the end of the race. Max, by the way, won the race as well, and he is now out on top in this qualifying session. Nando there in second, Matthew Hall there in third. Enzo is on a lap time right now for G League, looking to try and get a good lap time on the board. I think Tom is on a lap as well. He's coming through spoon curve, a 3.5 improvement in that first sector. Tom in the middle sector, 0.6 up, 109.7 in the middle sector. What is Tom cooking here as he now comes in toward the Casio Triangle at 16, 17, 18. Dan there going third. Tom going to be well quicker, I think, than Dan coming through the final corner. Bit of a snap of oversteer on the run to the line though with Tom. Goes quicker and goes quickest out of everyone. big lap time, big statement lap from Tom. Max there in second, Nando there in third, Dan there in fourth, Enzo on the run to the line as well. He goes fifth. So drivers are improving. The fresh set of softs coming into play. Tom though out on top, Max goes partner in second, Nando currently in third, and FRT in fourth with Dan well and truly punching above their weight.
Well, remember, keep an eye out on G-League's Enzo, now 7th fastest. Urpek comes across the line, though, and goes 3rd fastest for F7R in the McLaren, of course. And keep an eye out on Yossi, who is also on a lap at the moment. I believe it's invalidated, though, so he's now at risk here as we've started to see the hot laps coming in now. One of the Ferraris of Marcodor is going to be coming across the line, I think possibly to end his run in this particular session. Yes, there he is. So he's coming in, so it will be another run. But he's going to have to get out pretty quickly and pretty sharpish as well. Under 4 minutes to go left in this session. So at the moment, not many laps now going to be coming in as people prepare themselves for a few laps here. We do have Gabba out on a lap, though, at the moment. In fact, tell a lie, he was on a lap. He's not now, according to my screen. It's a bit of an odd one at the moment. I think I'll have to get that updated. So as it stands at the moment, though, it is Tom at the top for Shazoo. Max Grosspointer, though, just behind from BRT's Murphy, Nando, Dan, Gabba, Hazra, and then Enzo in 9th from Keke for NLR in 10th. As it stands so far, the NLR have got a driver through.
They have got a driver through, but I'm just going to throw everyone now under the bus in terms of who's out right now. Matthew Hall, Macho, Yossi, Axelinho, Marcadors. And just imagine, in a real-life situation, which we are in, those 5 out in Q2. Now, I know it's probably not going to happen. 1 or 2 of them might be. But Matthew Hall, Yossi, Marcadors, them are the main 3 I'm watching. Macho and Axelinho probably going to be out in Q2, I'd imagine. But if it was to say as it is, if there was invalidations to come on their laps, Matthew Hall, Yossi and Marcadors will need a little bit of luck in the race. Now, remember, we are getting that restart in terms of illegal blocking. So we're going to get the illegal blocking penalties removed. As I thought I heard somebody fall down the stairs there, but it's still out on top of Max in second. Joe Murphy there. You heard that as well?
I heard it as well. That was a pretty loud bang. I don't know what happened there. I hope everyone's all right.
I hope it's just somebody getting the plate out of the cupboard downstairs. But if not, and if there's an ambulance coming my way, then God forbid.
Let us know, and I'll lead for 10.
Oh, we will. We will definitely. Max there in second, Joe Murphy there in third. Drivers are now on their outlap. So interesting, actually, calls. Urpek there retiring in the pit lane. He is done. Whether or not, though, drivers like Dan, like Gabor, like Hazara need to improve is beyond me. But Matthew Hall now coming across the line to start off his lap. Again, a little bit of lag down towards turn number 1. We'll run on board with the Veloce Academy man in through turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love watching this guy go into turn 1. He's so late on the brakes, isn't he? Going through turn 1. And in fact, he doesn't even brake going into turn 1. He brakes going into turn 2. It's very Barrichello-like, actually, in how he drives. He's so late on the brakes and just turns into the corner, then hits the brakes here, as it looks like we've got one of the cars just needs to get out of the way. He's on the racing line. That's not going to help the lap time for Matthew Hall as he then heads through into the next couple of corners at the Degners. So they're going through Dunlop, then into the Degner 1, into Degner 2. He is a 10th up on his first lap, and he's gone a little bit wide through the second Degner, though, so he might end up just struggling a little bit then as he goes into the hairpin. It's going to be a pretty critical lap, this one, for Matthew, though, isn't it? Because he's now got to try and really focus all his energy on this one and only lap that he's got, considering the amount of time that there is left here. He is gonna, if he messes up now from this point onwards, he's going to be harvesting energy throughout the final run of his second run. So we'll see then as he comes through then into Spoon Corner. Going to get a tiny little toe maybe from one of the cars on an outlap at the moment. Looks like one of the Alpha Tauris as he then heads through into 130R. It's going to be a pretty critical corner again. Try and not take too much of the corner, otherwise he'll scrub off some speed as a Ferrari have outplayed racing, getting out of the way there. Looks like Marcado's just on the final last ditch attempt to try and avoid that one. On the curbs, though, couple of hiccups on the way from Matthew Hall. Doesn't stop him going fastest, though. 26.150, 19th thousandths of a second faster than Shazoo Tom on that occasion.
Yeah, very good lap. I've got to say, though, Liam spot on with what potentially could be coming there. Could be reports coming from Matthew Hall. He's gone quickest, though. If Enzo goes quicker than him, then I think that report is absolutely justified. But that is a big benchmark to set at 26.1. Just trying to see who's furthest on the lap right now. One of the Aston Martins just starting up on the lap. I believe it's Axelinho who is next up to come across the line in the AlphaTauri. He looked good through the first sector. We're showing purple in the first sector. 109.9 purple in the middle sector. He hasn't set a lap time on the board, though, so take that with a bit of a pinch of salt as he now comes in towards the Casio Triangle. coming down through the right-hander, then through the left-hander, turn 17. Looking good now from the German as he comes on the run to the line. A bit of a snap of Overseer coming out the corner. Actually, to the line. 26.432. That is not enough for me to get him through into Q1. As Gabor, by the way, we have got a bit of a glitch going on. Gabor 26.411 is actually behind these guys.
Yeah, a little bit of a weird one, that one. I'm not. Yeah, see that there. So Gabba 26.411 10th place. I'm wondering if the reason why that is the case is because he is... No, I think that's all reset now. Interesting. I'm not sure. Well, we'll keep an eye on that one anyway, especially as we've got G-League's Enzo's Max Gross Pointer comes across the line and sets that precedent set. 26-0 for the Veloce Academy Red Bull Racing team, and that puts them as 1-2 as Outplayed Racing goes 3-4 in that particular run, and it is very close, isn't it, between second, third and fourth on this one. Let's see what Enzo does, though. G-League looking to try and get on the mark. Oh, he just plants it into the wall as he now ruins that lap, and that is it for G-League. 15th place for them. Very weird circumstances there. Hazra can't improve in the second sector. He'll come across the line and stays 13th fastest, and that will be it. So Gabba has been knocked out with that 26.411. Keke in front of him also out. NLR in the end can't get both of their drivers through Q2. Shazoo Macho just manages to sneak through with his teammate. So as it stands, and as it will be, Team Shazoo have got both their drivers through. F7R again, only 8th and 9th for that team, though. So they're a little bit behind and a little bit under the cosh themselves versus the likes of Outplayed Racing. And then Dan manages to get through for FRT as well. Great performance for Future Racing Team to get one through to Q3.
Yeah, Dan, by the way, qualifying Yossi and Urpek is absolutely huge, by the way. FRT are going to be loving life right now, I can guarantee you, in that party. What was a little bit shocking, though, for me, Macho was through. Macho, for me, not really a consistent driver in qualifying around here. A tenth of a second ahead of Keke, who was on the podium in F1 Esports Challenges at the start of the year. But a great lap for Macho, gets him through, and I think it's his first actual appearance in Q3 all season for Legacy Division and for Team Shazoo as well. But Maxwell's partner man on top, Matthew Hall there in second, Veloce Academy 1-2 again, OP 3-4, who would have predicted that one? Tom there in fifth, Joe Murphy there in sixth, Dan punching above his weight there in seventh, with Yossi there in eighth, Urpek there in ninth, and Macho rounding off the top 10, and then out in Q2, Keke, Gabor, Hazara, Axelinho and Enzo. So 2 out for NLR, 1 out for BRT, 1 out for ET8, and 1 out as well for G League. And now we get into the nitty gritty. Q3 about to happen out on track. Should be very interesting. Are we going to go Veloce Academy 1-2 OP 3-4 like in Q2, or is it going to be slightly different?
I'm wondering, looking at the other performances, especially the likes of FRT, who's absolutely flying high. I mean, the FRT with Dan, FRT with Dan, is a really, really good combination. I know that they've obviously been partnered for a while, but I can't help but feel with how... I'm trying to think of the right word for it, but the market at the moment is very saturated, isn't it? With teams that are so close in proximity that a team member, a person like Dan would be so beneficial to seeing people like Shazoo, to people, like the Veloce Academy, maybe even like BRT. So, FRT are going to do wonders to try and keep Dan in the team, following the season, because it is absolutely wonderful indeed. But nonetheless, we're through to Q3 now, and the drivers out there are going to be very keen to get going straight away with this. As we can see, actually, one of the Mercedes have immediately sort of set themselves out there. Pardon me, that's not Mercedes. I believe that might be an Aston Martin has immediately set themselves out there. But they are keen to get going in this event here to show what they can do in Q3, and it is BRT's Jay Murphy immediately getting out on the track to get a feel of what is now a track with a little bit of sunshine out.
It is. It's always good to see sunshine around here as well. And what that will do for the tyres as well is bring them closer to the 25.8s, the 25.9s that I'm certainly expecting in terms of pole position times around here. Joe Murphy, the first out on track. The Irishman, not the Welshman, as James Polacco mentioned a little bit earlier on in the chat. The Irishman now coming in towards Degner 1 and Degner 2, of course, had a fantastic season in WOR Console Tier 2 last season. Now promoted, of course, to the top tier in Tier 1. The BRT man has, of course, got a podium to his name this season as well. Just a couple of weeks back, I think it was, as well for BRT. So BRT definitely cooking. They're, of course, are tied on points, I believe, with Team Shazoo as well in terms of the championship. Let me get the standings up very quickly, because I think they are tied, as I say, on points with Team Shazoo. So that is going to be very interesting. Macho and Tom, both of their drivers through. Joe Murphy only one through for BRT. So definitely going to be interesting to see how drivers get on as well. Harvey Malian, by the way, saying in the chat, Dan is too good for Veloce. And Bell Wofford's also saying Dan is literally getting pole. I'll hold him to that one in week 13 of the review that he normally does every week, which apparently is now stopped.
Very interesting indeed in that one, actually, as we're just keeping a very firm eye then on BRT's Jay Murphy in the Aston Martin. And I'm just keeping also a firm eye at the moment on the map at the moment as well, because I think there seems to be a few hot spots out there at the moment where we seem to be losing a little bit of traction. Coming out of the Degner curves, we seem to have people able to throw the car in there and have no issue at all. Through Spoon, everyone seems to be fine. But going through, at the moment, the Casio Triangle, we're seeing a lot of people struggle on the rear end, other than Matthew Hall, weirdly. Matthew's absolutely planted at the moment. Great setup. And a great driver nonetheless as well, of course, is what was formerly known as Cinder, if I remember correctly. Oh, my goodness me, there's Jay Murphy electing to straight line the set of S curves as they now become a bit of an L curve for the Aston Martin BRT driver, who now tries to, well, reconcile what just happened and have another go at it. At the moment, though, I think the nearest driver that's going to be having another go on this one, by the looks of things, is going to be one of the McLarens, and I believe that one is actually going to be Urpec for F7R.
It is going to be Urpec indeed. I'm just watching that replay, by the way. He did not make a mistake coming through turn 2, 3, 4, 5. Just opted to try and just straight line the S section. Didn't make a mistake or anything. It was just a pure movement. That was a weird one on me. I've never seen that before in my 10 years of actually doing league racing commentary. So you see everything. Yeah, you see everything as it comes, but Joe Murphy there, not on a lap. He is getting a lot of traffic, though, coming through this final lap. Urpec, though, is the next to set up on a lap time. What can the F7R man do? P2, remember, around here in PSGL 3 weeks ago. Marketer's taking it that day. Both of them again here in Q3 for WOR Legacy Division. Let's see how the drivers get on that on track. Urpec down the hill and towards turn 1. Do the right hand to turn number 2, looking nice and tight, but invalidates through turn 2.
He was so late on the brakes, though, going through into turn 2, so I was not surprised at all that the car just stepped out on him and he's invalidated the lap. Yossi looking a little bit more clear. He's just throwing the car around. It's a great setup for F7R at the moment. Of course, PlayStation driver now heading through the left-hander into the Dunlop curve, through into the Degners, and this is where we're going to see the McLaren chassis really just plant itself through the corners. Again, someone going for the little bit of a wider line, though, through the second Degner into the hairpin. You know, Yossi's clearly got a car that he feels confident in. He's had a good Q1, Q2, perhaps not so much, so hopefully F7R get themselves on the board here, because they are under pressure versus the likes of Outplayed Racing and Veloce tonight, considering that they're the ones in form at the moment. They're the ones looking our form out of the top 3.
Definitely so. Yossi coming out through the left-hander of Spoon Curve and on the run down in toward 130 yards. That's a very consistent lap so far from the Swiss man, who I mentioned last week in EML commentary was a bit like a Swiss chocolatier in terms of Lindt chocolate. And what a 9.5 is the fastest we've seen all night through there. In the middle sector, this is looking like a huge lap for Yossi. As long as he keeps it clean, flows the car, coming through now. The Casio Triangle on the run towards the line then with Yossi. This should be a 25, I think, from Yossi to the line. 25.9, and that is more like it in terms of Q3. Yossi out on top. Coming in though and behind, Tom is next to come across line 109.9 in the middle sector. 26.2 might be on a used set of compound tyre. Marketer's to the line. He goes 300ths behind Yossi, so very good lap from him. Matthew Hall there going third, could potentially be on a used set. Urpec down in his lap, obviously. Macho as well is actually 2 thumbs up on Tom, and he's looking very, very good as Macho on the run to the line. The Dutchman goes 5th, goes ahead of his teammate by 500ths of a second. Nando on the run to line in that red and white Ferrari, the Sunderland colours, but it's Yossi out on top. Marketer's there in the second, Matt Groves partner in third, and Nando in the end going 4th. But look at the top 4, only covered by less than the 10th.
I think 25.7 is what you mentioned, wasn't it, for Marketer's earlier on? I think it was that in PSGL. So there may be a couple of tenths still in it at the moment, but Yossi the one leading the way out of the drivers at the moment. So F7R suddenly coming out of nowhere with probably their fastest driver out of the 2 at the moment through Yossi. Urpec, though, yet to set a lap time on the board, invalidating, of course, at turn 1. So it's going to be one to watch for certain. Of course, Jay Murphy just currently in the pit lane Looks like he's just got out of the car just to shake off all of the pebbles that he managed to ingest as a result of his travel across the S-curves. At the moment, though, really sharp stuff, as I said, from Yossi. Down a little bit down the order, though. 26.6, probably an old set of softs, but well down the field for a used set of softs nonetheless.
Yeah, I think you mean Dan, not Yossi. I think you said Yossi on the 26.6.
There we are, we'll get there.
Yeah, Dan on the 26.6. To be fair, though, at least he's made it into Q3. I think that's a real achievement in itself. FRT have been really struggling over the last few weeks. And in fact, probably since round 1 in Monaco, they've been struggling week in, week out. But it's good to see Dan well up there in terms of Q3, well up there. I think one of their achievements is only getting the car into Q3. They've achieved that. And now anything else is going to be the cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake, quite literally. Dan, but he's having 8th position, looking very good. He didn't get a lap time on the ball because I think that's on a used set of compound tyres, and I think he made a mistake also on that lap. So Dan there in 8th position, got to be one to watch out for, as is the man coming into pit lane there in P3. Max Grohl's partner, the Austrian, coming into the pit lane, fresh from signing with Veloce Academy, formerly, of course, of TF10 before that, but Max doing a fantastic job there in P3. But now we just sit back, relax, wait for the final 4 minutes to go by. In a flash, it's Yossi out on top. For Marco Doll's there in 2nd, Max Grohl's partner there in 3rd, then Nando in 4th, Matthew Hall there in 5th. A little bit of ground to make up, I've got to be honest, from Matthew Hall's perspective. A 10th and a half off Nando. Got to really try and find on a very good lap time. Macho there in 6th, Tom in 7th, Dan there in 8th, then Joe Murphy and Urpek ran off the top 10. Jota surprising me with the camera screens, by the way, because I was facing the other way.
Apologies. We're just keeping an eye out, obviously, as all of the drivers out there just getting themselves ready for the next couple of laps, of course. It's going to be an interesting one to see what's coming up with, obviously, Yossi leading the way. You know, Yossi is the one that's going to be pushing towards the front now, as we've got people now starting their laps once again. You know, looking at it now, you know, Yossi and F7R were not at the front at all throughout this bit now. So how at the moment has Yossi managed to suddenly find a 25.9 out of nowhere, pile the pressure on Outplayed Racing and Veloce Academy? Or have F7R just been sandbagging for the last couple of qualifiers, and obviously they've gone into Q3 and said, right, you know what, we're actually going to be at the front, because now it's going to spook the other two teams into thinking, oh, I need to find that extra 10th, I'll go for that risk, and then risk making that mistake.
Yeah, I was going to use the term sandbagging, and then I thought a second against it, but you mentioned it, so I'm going to hold you to it. I think they were sandbagging in Q1 and Q2. Tom and I think that's Max, by the way, or Matthew Hall, the other Red Bull, just having a bit of a side-by-side moment running towards Degner 1 there. That was quite interesting. But yeah, Yossi, I think, F7R, from their perspective, I think they have been sandbagging a little bit. They're on top and currently in 10th position with Urpek, so they're bottom and top currently of Q3. Urpek needs to get a lap time on the board. He was 2nd around 2 in PSGL, so he needs to find a lap time from an absolute somewhere. I can only assume he was on the used set and he invalidated on his lap, which is why he's came back in the pit lane, gone for a fresh set. And remember, they were, along with OP and Veloce, the teams that saved up a set of soft compound tyres in Q1, so they can use this tyre now to good effect in Q3. Yossi, though, out on top. Marquez in 2nd. Max Grohl's partner in 3rd. I am going to put Mr. Jota on absolute tenterhooks in terms of prediction. Who's your top man for Q3?
Top man it's Max for me. I think Max, and I think the Veloce Academy have still got enough in the trunk to, really put the pressure surely on Yossi and I think definitely Marco does and Nando as well. So, and I can't discredit Urpek. I think Urpek will be up there as well once he gets a lap together. But I still think Max, Max in the Red Bull, can you believe it? The Veloce Academy driver, I think, has definitely got what it takes to get pole position here. So I think he's definitely going to be my favourite, as I believe we're starting to see the first laps coming in, and this one coming in from Tom initially from the front.
It is indeed Tom coming through the left-hander turn 3, 4, 5, and then in towards the right-hander of turn number 6 once again. Matthew Hall is following on in behind. Max Grohl's partner just starting up on a lap as well. I'm, by the way, going to go for Marquez for pole position, and you'll probably see why in about a minute and a half time when he goes pole position. But Tom, up on his lap, 30.8. Again, one of the fastest first seconds that we've seen so far. 26.2 for his name so far. If he's on a fresh set of softs, this should ideally be around a 25.8 to 25.7. as we get forward into Q3. Matthew Hall, for comparison, didn't catch his first sector split, but Matthew Hall certainly looking in terms of the improvements there. But Tom now coming down the hill in toward the left-hander of Spoon Curve once again. It's Yossi for Markedos for Max the top three. Is it going to remain that way? No, because Tom has just invalidated, coming through, and he smashes into the wall. Tom invalidates his lap, smashing his way through the wall. Matthew Hall as well, having to avoid that. Luckily not off-putting him coming through that part of lap, but he's 5/10 up. It's Matthew Hall through the first sector alone. Huge middle sector coming in for Matthew Hall, and he's 2,000 up. So I'm not sure what I was seeing there in terms of 5/10 improvement.
I think it was, but I got
400th improvement. I was seeing things quite clearly. Matthew Hall now coming through the Casio triangle on the run to the line there with him very close to the pit lane wall on the run to the line. Does he do enough?
Wow.
No, remains P5. Hardly improves either. Nando's up by a 10th. Max Grove's partner's up by a 10th, and he's on the run to the line as well, shooting to put a pole. He does, 25.9. Yossi is down. Markedos is down. So it's only Nando, really, unless Macho's setting a lightning first sector, which he is. Macho's up there as well. Joe Murphy, they're going 6th. Nando could be the one. That could be ultimately the big shock here in Q3. Going to be very interesting to see. Max goes partner out on top. Yossi second, Markedos in 3rd. Nando coming wide. Urpek there goes 4th. Good luck from him. There's a smash in the wall as well from Alfa Romeo. That's Macho on his lap. That is done. But Nando is 109.4 in the middle sector. Huge middle sector coming in from the Portuguese man, the race winner of PSGL last week, as he now comes in toward the left-hander of the Casio triangle. This is surely going to be a 25.8 from Nando, the Portuguese man, on the run to the line. Does he go quicker? Yes, he does. 25.8. Maxwell's partner in 2nd. Yossi there in 3rd. OP were holding something back. Nando out on top, Maxwell's partner in 2nd, Yossi in 3rd, brilliant end, and Nando deserved that pole.
Yeah, not looking at the 25.7 though in the end, thinking that one, but nonetheless, it is a good performance from the drivers towards the front and a fantastic pole position from the Portuguese man Nando, getting that pole position by 54 thousandths of a second, but less than a 10th, separating 1st from 4th, which is no expectation of anything different between these guys as well. Urpek a little bit down with 5th place, but looks like it had to be a bit more of a conservative lap just to get a kind of a lap on the board, but a 10th behind anyway. So I won't even call that one conservative, to be fair. Markedos 4th. Max, my person for pole position, only finishing in 2nd in the end. Dan, down the order, won't be disappointed being only 3.5 tenths back, though, in the end for that one. It's a good lap from the FRT man, but Shazoo is the one that ends up having the disappointing set of laps in the end, both crashing out at Spoon Corner. So in the end, great performance nonetheless from the Ferrari men, but you know, in the end, really does suggest that there was a little bit in the trunk for F7R in the end. But in the end, you know, they weren't able to sort of flourish in that performance with what was, I think, a bit of sandbagging in Q1, Q2.
Yeah, definitely. So going to be really interesting, I think, to see how everything is going to get on in terms of the racing out on track. It looks, by the way, as if it's going to be blue skies and sunshine for the entire race. It looks like it's going to be a dry race for out on track. But yeah, OP a little bit sandbagging, F7R a little bit sandbagging, or E7R as you're going to call them now. F7R definitely sandbagging a little bit, but they knew what they had in the tank at the end, and it's just a phenomenal credit, I think, for them to really see how everything went on track. We are going to get a new lobby, by the way, so we are going to throw you over to the adverts from our sponsors, Next Level Racing and the GridFinder. We'll be back with you probably in the next few minutes or so.
We're coming at you live once again back in WOR. This is the Legacy Division, and of course, as the lobby is getting set up for this amazing race that we've got ahead of us, of course, a couple of drivers needing to get their grid penalties removed. It gives us an opportunity, alongside James, PGS James Head, of course, to look at the stand-ins as we have, an intense event ahead of us. The stand-ins are looking so sharp for Outplayed Racing, but that close competition with F7R and the Veloce Academy at the moment is going to be a big one.
Yeah, it is going to definitely be a big one. Welcome back, everyone. The drivers are just beginning to ready up in the lobby. So as soon as we see the lights go green, then we will get back to the live action, of course. But yeah, Outplayed Racing leading the way on 372 points. Going to be interesting to see how they get on out on track. F7R in second on 349. Veloce Academy third on 259. Then a bit of a jump down, 22 points to Novus Racing in fourth on 237. Bunga Racing Team and Team Chazoo tied on points, 227 points. That'll be an interesting one to watch out for tonight. NLR Esports in seventh on 180. Then G League in eighth on 157. Parnell Racing in ninth on 142. They're, of course, not competing. ET8 in 10th on 106. Future Racing Team 11th on 91. And Nexus Racing Team, the now defunct Nexus Racing Team. God, feels like a long time since they've been defunct. They're in 12th position on 35 points. But yeah, OP out on top. F7R, though, 23 points separate them tonight. I mentioned on social media they're long-standing rivals. Long-standing rivals proven again in qualifying there. Are we going to see Outplayed F7R round 12?
I'm looking forward to seeing what we've got coming up as well for the 4th through 6th as well. Novus, Bunga and Team Chazoo, 10 points separating those three teams is just an astonishing figure. Of course, joint 5th technically between Bunga and Team Chazoo. The reason why Chazoo, of course, are in 6th is because they've got worse results to get to 227 versus Bunga Racing Team. So really, really, really intense sort of championship fights happening between 4th and 6th. Of course, 1st to 3rd as well. Veloce, a lot of people discrediting them as well, but I tell you what, going to be in for an absolute blinder.
We are going to be in for an absolute blinder indeed. The drivers are out in the session. Haven't gone green just yet, but blue skies and sunshine indicate it is unrealistic in terms of the settings. Apparently, it was set to night. I don't know why we'd be getting a night race around here in Japan. It's a glitch within the settings, apparently, but we are on clear weather, and it looks like it's going to be a dry race as well. So it's going to be interesting to see, in terms of the strategies, what everyone is going to get on for. I've got in my notes around here, hards to mediums is probably going to be the quickest strategy. It's a strategy that I successfully managed to pull off in my podium finish around here in my league race. So are drivers going to be taking the James Head approach, or are they just going to be taking their own approach?
I'm going to be interested to see how they sort of develop the race as well, because I think depending on the approach that they take, it's going to be all about that sort of conservative regime, isn't it, around the one-stop sort of strategy that maybe is expected of them as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we've got coming up as well, with the driver strategies. I'm expecting a bunch of medium and hards at the start off, but someone may gamble for that soft.
Some may gamble for that soft indeed. Could potentially see hards to softs as well as a potential strategy around here. Going to be really intriguing to see how drivers get on. Tom apparently is going to put in a message very, very shortly indeed, unless he's listening to the stream and I'm getting to do this. Then drivers can ready whenever they want, but Tom will have to put in when they are ready to go. Normally it's about a 5-minute interlude between us having that illegal blocking penalty, getting the lobby reset up, and then going live in terms of the green lights. And hopefully we'll see that very shortly indeed. But let us know in the comment section who you are predicting as your winner here tonight in Japan. And I am going to jump immediately off the bat by saying OP are going to take it, but not with Nando. I think it's going to be Marcados for the win. And I know I got that wrong in qualifying, but just watch me be right this time.
I think that F7R with Yossi at the front have got this expectation, though, haven't they, that they're going to be leading from the front through him. So I can't see at any point him potentially losing this win other than a poor strategy from the team. And that's not out off the equation that one of these big teams makes a mistake. You can look at the Netherlands and look how Matthew was in their strategy call in the Netherlands. I think Matthew pitted off those hards too late. So making that one critical mistake depending on strategy could be the big factor here.
Yeah, definitely. So Undercut is very potent around this track as well. Proven in PSGL, proven in the racing as well. Spring in there saying in the chat, it'll be an F7R win tonight. Abdallah for Kids saying the same thing. F7R for me too. Interesting to see the F7R support. I know for a fine fact they're McLaren fans because I said that in the chat a little bit last week. Avatar mentioned in the chat a Keki Nando fight. That could be interesting. NLR against OP, which could be a little bit perceived for the racing out on track. Well, we are going to get forward hopefully very soon. I'm just trying, as I look to the left-hand side, here come the 5 red lines. Very now, here for Japan, round 12 of the championship for WOR Legacy Division. And it is lights out away we go. Nando gets a bit of a squirrely start. Max Wilspan is going to be alongside him in towards turn 1, pushing him all the way towards the grass here. The Red Bull to the inside line, tries to get the lead of the race off Nando. Nando on the outside line tries to hang on, but Max on the centre softs. Surely going to be thrown into the race. They're still side by side as they cascade now through the S section for the first time, but it's Max that leads the way on that set of soft compound tyres. Absolutely jumping on chip. Nando there in second. Yossi now in third. But there goes Matthew Hall around the outside in towards Dunlop Curve. It'd be a phenomenal move if you can pull him off. He's also on a set of soft compound tyres early on. Everyone, I think, is clean through in the background. Havnik dropping a position behind Ogween. But Max Groves partner leads. Nando there in second. Yossi there in third. And drivers clearly, Jota, not going with what I'd planned in terms of the nodes. All on a set of soft compound tyre. As we see it move further down the field, Gabor and Azara to the inside line. But Max leads. Nando in second, Yossi in third, and Nando has been absolutely swept up off the start.
Yeah, Nando not having the best of starts, and Max able to get down that inside line. Tried to make that early defense, didn't he, going into turn 1, but it wasn't going to work on those hard tyres. Wasn't able to get a lead as one of the Alpines going off the track. Looks like it was G-League's Enzo. Also not getting the greatest of starts, but across the board, soft to hard. Max Gross Pointer immediately able to jump and make a bit of a head start on these soft tyres, but Nando immediately going to put the pressure on going into the Casio triangle because he's having to defend from another soft tyre runner of Yossi around the outside going into the next corner. Oh my goodness me, lagged straight through him and ends up going down all the way to 4th place as a result of that one. Matthew now up to 3rd, and is he going to be able to put an immediate pressure then on Nando? I'm wondering, probably not. Is he going to have to go around the outside, tries to switch the inside. He finds the space though, and Veloce trying to make it a 1-2, and that's what they do so far. Fantastic. That's how you race around here.
That is not a Red Bull-shaped gap, by the way, and Matthew Hall's just found one. That was marvellous racing from the Veloce Academy, man. Thuney's into second. It's now 1-2 for Veloce Academy. Twitter admin going to be going absolutely wild right now, but here comes Yossi on the inside line. Not going to get a move done here, surely, through deck the one. He does. That's a bit forceful, though, from F7R's Yossi. Yossi and Nando had a bit of a coming together, of course, a couple of weeks back. F7R of OP have had numerous coming together here in Legacy Division as Airpick, speaking of F7Rs, up the inside line. Joe Murphy in the background of shot for 6th and 7th. He's trying to get away through on the Irishman, but Max Grosspartner leads the way. Matthew Hall there in 2nd, Yossi there in 3rd, Nando there in 4th, Mark Wills in 5th, and Joe Murphy, Erpek, Macho, Tom and Dan top 10. Bit of a lag spike going on through Spoon Curve. Hazara, Keki, Gabor, Grimbles and Ogween top 15. Axelino has left the session. I'll try and get him back in the session very shortly. Drobble, Supply Raptor, Enzo and Havnik right down on the back of the field. Nobody making contact though. There's a move though happening right down in the background of field. Grimbles is through on Gabor coming through 130R, and Azara is side by side with Dan around the outside into the Casio triangle. That is a brilliant move from the Norwegian. ET8 man coming out on top. Dan has been absolutely done like a kidney and a chicken. Hazara through his into 10th, but not for long because that goes Keki to the inside line in towards turn 1 as well on the back of Dan. FRT's Dan swept up 2 in the space of 1. Hazara through into 10th. That was a brilliant move from him.
Yeah, has to be expected though. The soft tyre runners are starting to run away at the moment versus the hard runners. The hard runners, of course, are going to be going the distance though. But Yossi, what a move going into that first Degny. Again, it was one of those situations where there was not a McLaren-shaped space for the F7R driver, but he managed to make it work, and it's such a critical move as well in order to make sure that he can stay within that 1 second gap of Matthew Hall, because of course the F7R need to keep that pressure on Veloce, especially with Erpek going to be dropping points for the likes of the Veloce team to catch up, and of course Outplayed Racing are closely in proximity as well. So as it stands so far, F7R slightly better race, but they're still going to be dropping points.
Yeah, they are indeed. It's going to be interesting to see. Axelino is not on my friends list, by the way, so I can't actually invite him into the lobby. Hopefully somebody else can. Max Grossbartler, though, leads the way for Matthew there in 2nd. Yossi there in 3rd. Looking at the comments section, Liam saying this will be an entertaining race. if this wheel banging continues, oh, trust me, it is. Japan every single time, as here comes Uppbeat, speaking of which, on the back of Joe Murphy to the outside line into the Casio triangle. The hards by now going to be warmed up. A little bit of a catch and curb there from Joe Murphy. Uppbeat getting forced off as well. But now they're going to run side by side. Yossi is on the back of Matthew Hall in towards turn number 1. I don't think he's going to get the job done from that far back. Uppbeat most certainly will on the inside line through turn 1, and that is job done for Uppbeat even before he gets to the corner. Doing his intersect, nice move. But everyone on the side of soft, the front 3, Nando and Marcadors, interesting strategy call from them on the side of hards. Joe Murphy, Tom, Dan, Gabor, Supply Raptor, Havmik, and Axelino, all on the side of hards, by the way. Everyone else that you see in the Red Wall compound attire have stayed there, apart from Enzo, who I think had damage from the first lap. A bit of an incident, I think, with Havmik. He's there down in P20, going for a set of mediums. He is definitely, though, not getting to the end of the race.
Yeah, he's going to be struggling to get to the end on those medium tyres. Yossi, though, starting to close the gap now on Matthew Hall. He's not really been pushing that hard either, has the F7R McLaren driver. So I'm just going to be keeping a firm eye on seeing how that Red Bull develops the Red Bulls develop their race here for the Veloce Academy. Is it going to be a case of Max just pulling Matthew along in the hope that Yossi ends up falling off a cliff with these soft tyres, and then, of course, Nando and Marcadors are holding the hard tyre runners at the front, which means all the soft tyre runners behind it are going to be unable to make any moves. Uppbeat getting that move done past Joe Murphy is going to be a critical move for F7R, but they need to get through and past Outplayed Racing very quickly, and that is difficult against the championship leaders.
Yeah, and looking at Macho as well, on the back of Joe Murphy, you mentioned there the Irishman, but Macho was looking very quick. I've got to say, on the back of Uppbeat, I don't think we're going to get any moves down in towards turn number 1 this time around. Matthew Hall is closing in, but he is pulling to the right-hand side on the track, which indicates he's not going to get the job done. Hazara on the back, Peki on the back of Hazara in towards turn number 1 as well. 9th, 10th, and 11th. Tom just ahead of these guys as well. That might become the big split in this train. If there is going to be a split in this DRS train, it's probably going to happen between Macho and Tom. Tom now quickening things up coming through the first sector, but you saw there, just beginning to lose a bit of time. Hards by now, though, definitely going to be warmed up as Axelino has actually retired on track, so might be getting frame rate drops or something for Axelino. He's retired out on track. Fair play if he doesn't want to continue on to do that, but of course he has to come in the pit lane more preferably, I think, to do that. It was around no one, so Axelino retires out on track by himself, and as I say, he probably has joined the lobby, and he was getting frame rate issues, which, in that situation, nothing can really hold you back in terms of that, and hopefully for him, it's not the end of the day. Oh, out wide was Nando.
It's Yossi and Nando getting into a little bit of a scrap. I'm just keeping an eye out there, as of course you're talking about Axelino, and it looks like Yossi is making some critical errors on this lap, and the Outplayed Racing Ferraris have just been gaining time on the soft tyre runners, and so suddenly out of nowhere, Yossi, who goes for the dive going into the Casio triangle, gets the move done and forces Nando off of the circuit. Marcados then overtakes his teammate, and lo and behold, Yossi's going, oh, well, okay, I better make a move on, but unfortunately for him, he's now going to fall, it looks like, to the Outplayed Racing driver of Marcados, your favourite driver out on the field at the moment, as the hard tyre Ferrari runner now up to 3rd. Suddenly, Yossi, looking like he was just getting a little bit too comfy in his boots, has now suddenly realised he's stood in mud, and he's down to 4th.
He is stood in mud, and that didn't benefit Yossi whatsoever. He forced Nando off track, or Nando forced Yossi out on track. Regardless, both of them went off track, and Marcados just took candy from a proverbial F7R baby right there. And Marcados now through he's into 3rd, and he gained 2 positions in about as many corners. So Yossi not helping out his own team there, helping out OP, which I never thought I'd be saying. An F7R driver helping out an OP driver to get up into 3rd position. Never would see the day, as Peki is beginning to be split off the back of Tom. That split now happening further down the field. Hazara there in 11th, down there in 12th. Gabor is going to run side by side potentially with Grimbos coming through in towards Spoon Curve. Might try and get the switch back on the exit of the corner. He's not going to get the job done. Is the man in the Haas. FRT's Dan as well there in 12th position. Of course, Harvey picking up a top 5 finish earlier on in the season, as Nando and Yossi are back at it again through 130R. Luckily, though, Nando through this
Oh,
side.
wow. And here comes a move then from Marcados, who tries to make a move on Matthew Hall. The hard tyres have suddenly switched on so quickly at the moment. All the soft tyres have fallen off a cliff. Either way, Marcados is suddenly finding some real pace here, and he's going to have to go down around the outside here of turn number 1 if he wants to go. No, he's going to dive down the inside. No, he elects not to. Later on the brakes, though, is Matthew, as we've been seen from him all the way through this race weekend. Marcados is flying out there at the moment on these hard tyres. These soft tyres have completely switched off.
They have indeed. Yeah, the hards definitely not working, but the softs now are beginning to get towards a sort of medium compound tyre, if you like, where they're going to be getting off in terms of durability. And that means the hards, as now, are going to be the quicker tyre very, very shortly. Probably around lap 10 or lap 11, we'll see the hards really begin to come into play, and everyone on a set of softs come in probably from around that period onto a set of medium compound tyres out on track. Nando there in fourth, Yossi there in fifth. Luke mentioned in the chat that it was a give back of position for Nando and Yossi. So fair play to them. They do know respect at the end of the day in OP and F7R, which is brilliant to see. Urpek there and behind there in sixth, and Joe Murphy there in seventh. Nando now ahead of Yossi as a result of that let through. But Veloce Academy currently holding out on top, 1 and 2. They were doing a bit of live tweeting last week, Veloce Academy, albeit it didn't end well in the Netherlands. So far, so good for the Twitter admin, who I know was watching this stream.
Yes, here he comes then as well. We're looking at the Outplayed Racing Nando at the moment now, who's just in the hold on back from Outplayed Racing's Marcados, who now will begin a bit of a harvesting and recharge here as he actually puts the power down too early, going through the Casio triangle, as we've got a little bit of attack again from Grimbos and Gabba.
Yeah, Gabor, I think, was just under pressure from Grimbos. It was very difficult to see. They were running side by side, and now Ogween is running side by side with Grimbos for sure, down in towards turn 1, and all of that resulted from a bit of contact. And speaking of contact, there is more contact. And that was unfortunate for Ogween. He had the inside line in towards turn 1. Grimbos should have gave him a lot more room at the end there from him. Solely on the G League man, I think, from my perspective. 14th position, just left them short of room, and Ogween, as a result, has lost 3 positions and is now out of DRS range. And he's now behind Supply Raptor, so that's going to be interesting. NVR against FRT. I wonder who's going to win that one.
Yeah, it's going to be a last little battle, that one, though. I'm absolutely with you, by the way. G League going to have to accept the L on that one, because that was a little bit of a naughty situation from Grimbos, who I think just shut the door on someone that was there, unfortunately. So that will probably end up being something that will be in the books of the stewards. Worth making note, by the way, about the situations regard to the stewards. The likes of F7R at the moment have got to keep their noses squeaky clean as well, because they at the moment, and that probably explains why actually they handed the position over, because they 7 more penalty points and they will actually be facing a double qualifying ban. So they've got to keep their noses clean, and that's probably why they're very happy to give that position back up, I wonder.
Axe, by the way, in the Discord channel, definitely not happy. He's just put the French emoji in, so I wonder what that means. NVR definitely not happy with Grimbos' driving there. But somebody that is happy, though, is Marcados on the back of Matthew Hall. Nando as well on the back of his own teammate, but nobody attempting to move in towards turn 1. Matchell's getting close, but no cigar on the back of the Irishman of Joe Murphy in towards turn number 1. The Aston Martin there through, and he's into 7th. There is, though, an overtake. I can't even get my words out. Ogween through, he's into 16th on the back of Supply Raptor. Easily done on the back of the FRT man, and NOX now, sorry, not NOX, NVR now ahead with Ogween and Drobble there as well in 15th position. Everything just settling down once again. Lap 9 out of 27, a third of the way through. Here's your roll call. It's Maxwell's partner that leads the way for Matthew Hall in 2nd. Marcados there in 3rd with Nando 4th. Yossi 5th. Urpek and Joe Murphy 6th and 7th. Watch out for the Irishman, because those tyres are beginning to get hooked on now on the set of hards. Then it's Macho, Tom and Keki top 10. Very close. Tom to the back of Macho. Caused a bit of a knock-on effect in behind through the hairpin there. Hazara in 11th. Dan, Gabor, Grimbos and Drobble top 15. And it's Ogween, Supply Raptor, Havmik and Enzo. Enzo continuing on right down the back of the field. Needs safety car, ideally, to get back in this race. And, of course, Axelino, after what can only be described, I think, as frame rate drops, out of the race, retiring out on track in P20. Myself, James Head, and Mr. Jota, the GOAT, alongside me in the commentary box, taking you through this one. Max, though, leading the way. Veloce Academy 1-2. But Marcados just beginning to apply a bit of pressure into the Casio triangle.
Oh, we felt that. He felt that one, did Matthew? I could see the car, the rear end just ever so slightly getting a little bit of a wiggle on, so he's obviously feeling the pressure from Markados at the moment. And it must be said as well, as it looks like there's an opportunity for an overtake here happening here as he's getting closer and closer. Will Matthew have to cover off a potential attack and try and box in the Outplayed Racing? And it absolutely does it there. So actually great defense there actually from Matthew. From Markados' perspective, though, and Outplayed Racing's perspective, they've got the upper hand on strategy, haven't they? Because whatever happens, they're definitely going to be at least matching tyre strategy or matching the tyre compound at the next set of pit stops at the very least, as the big tank slapper from Matthew Hall there. And I'm wondering now here, is his Max Groves pointer going to say, I'm going to hold off a little bit, let Matthew maybe use my toe, or is he going to say, it's your problem, buddy, I'm going to get off into the distance here? Matthew is feeling that pressure here, and the strategy is going to be against the Veloce Academy here, because as I said, whatever happens, at the very least, Outplayed Racing are going to be matching the tyre compounds versus Veloce Academy, and I'm going to argue in race pace at the moment, Outplayed Racing are much faster than Veloce here, so they're going to be feeling the pressure, and they're under the cosh here, are the Red Bulls, and again, off of the track. So Matthew Hall, and now with a warning at the very least in this lap. He's under a lot of pressure.
Matthew Hall needs to pit in this lap. Those tyres are absolutely cooked even, as Gabor is through on Dan coming through the spoon curve, and actually Grimbles is running side by side with them through in the background the shot as well. But we'll see if Matthew Hall decides to come into the pit lane. I think prioritise him over the leader, personally. Maxwell's partner, exactly Matthew Hall in. Absolutely perfect from Veloce Academy. Nando is in. Nando is into the pit lane as Yossi tries to overtake him, an F7R characteristic, into the pit lane there, but doesn't manage to do that in the end. But Nando in as well. And that is for a set of medium compound tyres. That is what I like to call taking the initiative from the OP man. Nando there in 13th, ahead of Yossi coming out the pit lane, behind Matthew Hall. Drubble also in. Urpek is, by the way, coming down the start-finish straight. He's in towards turn number 1 right now, and he's right out in between the guys that have pitted, and actually he's side by side with Yossi coming out of the pit lane, and is ahead of Yossi coming through turns 1 and 2. So Urpek now, those lap fresher tyres, definitely coming into play, and that undercut is so potent. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that is obviously going to be a response off of the fact of Urpek getting into the pit lane 1 lap earlier, beating Yose out of the pit lane. Now suddenly Nando's going to be looking over his shoulders as he tries to get these medium tyres up to a warm temperature. Matthew, of course, on a set of hard tyres, so that's 1 step harder than the likes of Outplayed Racing's Nando, who comes in for that surprising pit stop. I wasn't expecting him to come in that early, and I thought it'd have perhaps been another 5 or 6 laps before we'd have seen him come in for another set of medium tyres, potentially softs if he feels like he could take them the distance. But Outplayed Racing's Markados now is slowly but surely gaining on Max Grospointner, but at the moment we're going to be seeing, I think, probably Max coming in to match his teammate now to get off of the softs, possibly onto a set of hards. There he goes. Markados, though, as expected, extending his stint. Outplayed Racing are splitting their strategy.
They are splitting their strategy indeed. Markados, I'm assuming, is going to go maybe a sort of soft compound tyre if he decides to stay it a little bit longer. Might do the Joe Van Bussel strategy around here as Grimble just flown past the ball in towards turn number 1. But Max coming out of the pit lane. Urpek and the likes, and Matthew Hall and the likes, are coming out through the final corner now. So Max Gold's partner could potentially be behind his own teammate here. He's coming out of the pit lane, and he's going to be ahead. But there goes Nando on the attack in towards turn number 1. Through on Matthew Hall. Nice and negotiated from Nando. Urpek ahead of Yossi still. Joe Murphy is in this fight. Macho and Hazara also on top of this train as well. But Macho now, those medium compound tyres, he has got to use this advantage to full effect on the back of Max. Do not sit back for OP. Yeah. If I was in his shoes right now, critical. I'd be putting Max close partner under pressure. He's a race winner around here. Why not put the race winner under pressure? It's
critical that Outplayed Racing's Nando gets past Max Grospointner, because those medium tyres will fall off a cliff quicker than the hards will. So he's going to have to look for the move, and he's going to have to get it done ASAP. So then Outplayed Racing can then start considering their strategy with him, and of course Markados, because it's going to be critical that Nando tries and holds back the 2 Veloce drivers. So then that extended strategy works for the other Ferrari man. And of course, little battle happening still between Gabba and Grimbos as well for 4th and 5th at the moment. That strategy is going to be so critical. Nando needs to get past Grospointner, and now it's going to have to be at the Casio Triangle. Markados is in. Surprisingly enough, he is coming in this one, so Tom will then inherit the lead.
Markados will be going for a set of medium compound tyres. If you're wondering why I was getting excited, by the way, Hazara and Macho have just had a phenomenal fight on the run through the hairpin all the way down in towards Spoon Curve, and Macho's ended up on top in terms of that battle. That was fantastic. Here comes Nando, though, on the back of Macho's partner. The OP man wants to use the tyres now to good effect. It is perfect from the OP man. He is now through, but look at where Markados is going to come out, right behind the F7R boys, and Markados and Yossi are side by side through turns 1 and 2. Yossi's got the tyre advantage. Markados has got the outside line.
Don't hold it. Oh.
And there's contact. Yossi losing short of room. Markados there in the end, having a knock-on effect with Joe Murphy, who's got right side end plate damage on that car as well. Has the Aston Martin. All a bit of a knock-on effect. All very messy. And in the end, Markados, for me, out of that, I don't think Yossi did anything wrong. I think Markados, coming out the pit lane, should have just had more spatial awareness. Simple as that.
There's not even spatial awareness, it's the initiative. Your tyres are cold. You're not going to be able to hold on to a position with that little grip. And unfortunately for Markados, he's now going to suffer the consequences of the stewards, in my opinion, as a result of that one, and has now potentially cost Outplayed Racing some really critical points in this battle against F7R and against Veloce Academy, who, right in front of them, have now got a clean run ahead of them to be able to make some inroads. The only difference, of course, is that Outplayed Racing Nando is on that medium tyre, and he's going to have to hope that those mediums don't fall off, because otherwise those other 4 cars behind are going to be very happy to take every position out of him as they go on. Whilst that's happening, by the way, in front, Havmik is staying out at the moment on them in the Mercedes in the ET8. Shazoo Tom also staying out, extending their stint, but FRT Dan is in for future racing.
He is indeed. It is Nando that leads the way, the net lead of the race. Tom and Havmik, by the way, staying out. I'm assuming they come in for a set of soft compound tyres in about 2 laps' time to the end of the race as Macho's on the attack and Markados in towards turn 1. And Macho gets Markados through turn 1. He's found wide, though, coming out through turn number 2. Markados is there on the outside line. Leave a bit more room this time, and Macho there is back through and he's into 8th position. Nice battle that actually between them both. Macho, of course, PSGL, PSF2 man, Markados, PSGL, PSF1 man. So good to see the PS guys really going at it and showing what they can do out on track. And Macho, by the way, has won around here in Japan before, but only in a league that I used to commentate on a Tuesday night. Not on Legacy Division, on a little unknown league called FRL on a Tuesday night. And Macho now, race winner there. Is he looking at potentially Shazoo, for him, certainly, his best finish under the Shazoo banner in Legacy Division? Because he's doing a phenomenal job right now.
He is doing really good at the moment, but it's going to be all about the strategy call, because, of course, it's a massive split strategy versus the 2 drivers at Shazoo. Keeping an eye out on Max Grosspointer at the moment, who's staying within touching distance of Outplayed Racing Nando, and I did say Nando needed to get the job done early on Max, and this is the consequence of it, because now the tyres are all fresh and warmed up for Max Grosspointer. He's going to be very happy to hold on to the back of him using DRS. Tom in the pit lane, by the way, which will mean EVA Havmik will end up inheriting the lead as he now comes across the start finishing line. Here comes then Max Grosspointer with that DRS open, able to once again close down the gap on the likes of Outplayed Racing's Nando. While this is all happening, by the way, towards the back, I'm just trying to keep an eye on where Outplayed Racing's Markados is at the moment. He's now under pressure from Macho once again.
He's actually just overtaken him in towards turn number 1. Markados on the back of Macho. Throoney's into 7th, but they are costing each other a bit more time. Put team aside, put team differences aside, I think they need to work together now, and I think Markados now, being the real innovator almost in terms of this battle, he's now going to let Macho Hazara Keki get on the back of this DRS train and have a good fight to the end of the race, because the mediums are not going to last as long as what people might think. They're only going to last around 8 or 9 laps into their stint, and then pretty much you're cooking on whatever the tyres are going to have in terms of life towards the end. And now Markados has got within a second, but he needs to use up that ERS now down the straight, because Yossi's on the back of Urpec. They're not going to overtake each other, so Markados is in a good position right now, but as long as he stays within a second on the back of the F7R boys, he's got Macho Hazara Keki all on the back of him, and that is going to be good, not only for Markados towards the end, but for the guys in behind as well, who I think really do need to close that gap.
One thing that Markados will be thanking his lucky stars about is that there's no DRS heading through 130R and then into the Casio Triangle, so thus he's not going to have to use as much energy going into those set of corners, and he's within the DRS territory now of the F7R boys, as Yossi, I believe, is just getting in the wing mirrors of Urpec to say, come on, pick up the pace, I need to stay within touching distance of Veloce. Goes to the inside, though, as Max Grosspointer has managed to make the overtake on Outplayed Racing's Nando, as to be expected in that one, as we've got a little bit more battling happening.
Yeah, it was. It was actually Nando nearly making contact on the back of Max there. Sorry with my most energetic ooh there, but it was Nando on the back of Max, nearly making contact. Actually, Max now taking the initiative. He is through, but look at the man ahead for ET8. Havmik is still out there in front. Is he going to cause absolute carnage now in terms of the race? Knowing Havmik quite well, knowing what he did actually in EML, I think, around here a couple of weeks ago, Havmik came into the pit lane before the battles and behind got going. So Havmik, I think, if I was him right now, I'd come in the pit lane because the Cetasols probably can make the end of the race from this point on. They were at about a 7% average rate around this track. So Havmik gonna cause a little bit of carnage potentially, but he is gonna give Max a big boost in terms of his DRS running down in towards turn 1 as well. So that gives him 3 DRS, and now Nando and Matthew Hall have really got to push on the run towards 130 odd just to keep up with him, knowing the fact that he's going to get DRS. And speaking of ERS management right now, which is a key factor around here in Japan, as Havmik is staying out. So this is going to be interesting for the ET8 man. But in terms of battery, Max has got 60% now. He's using it up to try and overtake Havmik in towards turn number 1, and he goes for the lunge to the inside line. He gets the job done in the end. Max has now got 60% of ERS. Havmik's on 29, Nando on 27, Matthew Hall on 46, as there's more battling between F7R and OP coming through the S section, and Markados has done Uppbeat around the outside. Brilliant battle that between OP and F7R. The box effect didn't work. Whatever F7R do tonight, OP just seemed to have one step ahead.
Couple of really poor corners actually from Yossi as well, who just looks like his car was just going sideways through the Dunlop curves. I'm going to be keeping a very firm eye on what's happening with Yossi, because I'm wondering if his tyres are starting to overheat a little bit on those mediums, and he's so much later on the brakes, is Markados, isn't he, as Uppbeat is slow out the corner here. So something is not quite right at the moment with the F7R boys, and I'm wondering if it is again just a little bit of overdriving, as Outplayed Racing is now hemorrhaging positions once again to another Veloce driver in Matthew Hall. These medium tyres are not working at all for Nando, and as I said, he needed to push that gap versus Max, and it's costing him big time. Markados is getting closer though here, and the medium tyres seem to be just about switching back on for him after that incident, of course, earlier on with, I think it was Joe Murphy for BRT. Elects not to go for the move though into the Casio triangle, as Uppbeat is defending from Macho.
Defending very hard off Macho as well. Oh, they both get a snap of Overseer coming through that corner. Markados is on the back of Yossi though, going to make light work in towards number 1, and Nando is through on Matthew Hall as well, just in the foreground. I've shot on my camera angle. He's into second, but Max leading the way, 1.3 seconds. Hard's currently the way to be on, I think, in terms of the tyres. Nando there up to second, Matthew Hall there in third. Markados now in fourth. Markados is really catching the eye in this race. He's on 2 lap pressure tyres compared to Matthew Hall and Nando ahead. More importantly, he's on 2 lap pressure tyres compared to Nando rather than Matthew Hall. And with that mediums coming onto play for Markados, he is really now beginning to pick up the pace. Oh, as he slides his way, as well as the Aussie kicking out the back end there, coming through Degda 2. Markados there in fourth. He is really now beginning to hunt into this race. Do not rule him out of this race win just yet. Markados, I did predict for the race win, by the way. He's there in fourth. Whether or not he can get to beyond Max is a different thing, but Markados is doing everything right now.
Might be. The strategy working actually quite well for Markados at the moment, but I'm wondering at what point do those tyres begin to switch off, because at the moment the hard tyres look to be just the most consistent tyre across all the board, as to be expected, being the hardest compound available. Is it Matthew going to go for the dive going into the corner, I wonder? I would have done so, but he elects not to in the end. He'll stick back and wait for the DRS and the move to be done, so therefore this will be a Veloce 1-2. A little bit of a mistake though out of the Casio triangle, not able to get the grip, but he will have the DRS. He will have plenty of VRS available as his disposal to get that move done, and he will overtake to make it a Veloce 1-2. Getting a little bit close for comfort actually going into turn 1, but there it is, and as expected, the 2 Veloce drivers are beginning to make their moves.
And former NLR now draw battle. Uppbeat against Keki. Oh, Uppbeat catching the rear end there nicely through the chicane of 3, 4, 5, and 6. Uppbeat there in 7th, Keki there in 8th. Doing a good job right now, but Keki has got to put Uppbeat now under pressure. Remember, these used to be teammates not too long back in the silly season that we had. and Urpek there really beginning to try and hook on those those hard compound tires. But compared to Keki on those set of mediums, really now Keki has got to get in this race and he's got to overtake Urpek no matter how it goes. NLR do not hold any bad blood, by the way, with Urpek moving to F7R. They are fully for the move, and I really hope we get to see the former teammates going at it out on track, because that'll just top off, I think, what Urpek is as a driver and what NLR are as a project.
Just keeping an eye out on Keki then. So yeah, it looks like he wasn't losing too much grip, so he is actually just keeping it a bit more gentle on that acceleration pedal at the moment, because I think he knows that the overtake against Urpek is certainly on going into turn 1 here. He won't go for the dive going into Casio, there's no point, but he will get the better drive going out of the Casio if he's careful. He does absolutely nail it through the Casio, so I'm expecting now Urpek is going to lose a position here, and F7R, who at one point were looking like they were going to be a favourite to potentially take a grand championship here, are struggling in Japan.
They are struggling in Japan, and Keki now through on the back of Urpek, but Urpek now knows he's got a target to aim at, and that's his former teammate in Keki, so that's going to now egg him on a little bit to just try and produce maybe 5% more, maybe try and get that step over Keki once again. But the way Keki's pulling away, he's looking really good. ERS-wise, he's only on 16%, so he's got to save that up a little bit towards the end of the race. In terms of ERS, though, for the front 5, Max is on 60%, so definitely covering up. And Matthew Hall, as Nando makes the move into the hairpin. That was a bit of a look-in from the OP man on the back of the Veloce Academy man. Nando there in third. He's really trying to hunt on the back of Veloce Academy right now. Marco's in fourth. Yossi not entirely out of this. Macho getting into this race as well. It's fascinating to see. Avatar mentioned Tom was an underdog coming into the final part of the race, where he's not an underdog anymore because he just forced his way through on Hazara in towards Spoon Curve there. 9th and 10th position for Tom. Hazara there in 10th for Tom, making very good ground. He's got the tyres to use it. Has he got the patience, though, after he barged Hazara off track there?
Just keeping an eye on the battle with Nando at the moment, who is getting a bit closer personal with Matthew here. I'm wondering if a bit of a second wind is kicked in now for these medium tyre runners. But at the moment, look at the ERS management has been poor from Nando, so he's got to try and manage his pickup. He's got a bit of pickup on the front right tyre as well, which will harm him going through turn 1. Misses his apex as a result of that one, but he'll stay within touching distance of Matthew Hall. And of course, Marcados will be on the blower to the radioing to the team, going, I've got 2 lap younger medium tyres. I am quicker than Nando at the moment. Give me the position and let me try and take race victory. 6 laps to go.
Joe mentioned in the chat, by the way, Veloce Academy mentioning on their social media that the updates seem positive right now. They do. They're 1-2. And why wouldn't you be positive if you're 1-2 in a race in Legacy Division? And arguably one of the best team events out there. To Max that leads the way for Matthew Hall in second. Nando there in third with, 6.5 laps to go pretty much here in this race. Everything can change. It probably will change. But given how Max is just oozing confidence out there in front, it'll be very difficult, I think, for OP to try and find something. Nando has got about 5% more than Matthew Hall. And in the grand scheme of things, if they keep that ERS exactly the same, as soon as I say that, Nando's now using that up in toward 130R. And is he going to look for an overtake in toward 130R? He is. He's going to look to the inside line on the back of Matthew Hall. Not for the ordinary, an overtake into there. Matthew Hall's just going to try and wait. But Nando, at what expense has he used that ERS? Because Matthew Hall now has got the advantage running in towards turn 1.
I wouldn't be so comfortable if I were Veloce. I think this overtake will be done because I think it was just a little bit of a warning shot to Matthew, but that one should be done. He's getting a tow as well from his teammate, which is always going to help. Going into turn 1 is so much later on the brakes is Matthew. Nice. But the thing is with Matthew is that we've seen him get a little bit shaky on the rear once the pressure is put under. What that is from Nando is not a move with intent to overtake. That is a move to say, I will very happily overtake you if you want to make a mistake for me, sunshine. And I know for a fact that Nando is playing on that, because Matthew has made a few little errors where the rear of the car would shake ever so gently as the rear starts to lock up, because he knows Nando is just breathing down his neck. Is Matthew going to start pushing, put Max under pressure and make a mistake, as Marcados is going to make the overtake? And I think the team call has been made. Marcados is faster, he's on younger tyres, let him have a go.
Luke Humphries has literally just mentioned that in the chat as well. WOR race winner, of course, Luke, from a couple of weeks ago. Nando needs to keep draining Matthew's battery whilst Marcados saves, makes the overtake easier at the end. Fully agree with that. But then that's out the window because Marcados has made the overtake on Nando. And Nando, I think, Are they of OP getting into the head that Yossi could be a threat towards the end of the race? That's what's going through my head right now, because Yossi is on that overtake mode, in towards Nando, in towards 130R, and look at him, to the inside line.
Oh my goodness me.
Yossi might well be a threat to OP, nearly falls him off track, in towards 130R, and now into the Casio triangle. Yossi on the outside line, brilliant stuff. That is a beautiful move from Yossi. Thuni's into 4th, Nando there in 5th. And OP, I think, got into the head. Speaking of which, Marcus is on the back of Matthew Hall, in towards turn number 1, and on the outside line he comes. He's going to get both of them in the swing of one corner. The bit of a box-on effect coming through turn 1. Marcus is still going to have the outside line,
Fantastic.
though. No matter how the box is going to work, Marcus has outgunned them. Matthew Hall's still going side by side. They're still side by side. Coming through the S section through 3, 4, 5, and then 6. And Marcus is getting on top, inches apart. Brilliant stuff. Marcus do. And he's into 2nd. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is racing.
Yeah, that is absolutely class racing from Marcos, especially considering the knocking confidence he'd have had earlier on through those set of S's. He's absolutely pinning that one to perfection. Have outplayed Racing's Marcos, and Yossi, though, while that's all happening, is very happy to just be the witness to all of that, because he knows precious time is being lost. And with someone on hard tyres, where we know the medium tyres are now going to start falling off, Nando couldn't hold back Yossi. Yossi's going to be in there. Marcos has probably only got 1 or 2 laps left before those medium tyres really start to bear some issues here. I'm wondering what's going to happen to that McLaren. Keep a firm eye on 4th place. F7R really need this.
They do really need this as well. Yossi now on the back foot because Matthew Hall's using up that ERS once again. He's on 8% of ERS, Matthew Hall, right now. In 3rd, Marcos, 41%. Max, 57%. So Yossi's got to try and find something. He's on 48% of ERS as well. He's now beginning to try and gain, but Marcos now looking dangerous on the back of Matthew Hall. But is there going to be a one-man block in towards turn number 1? There's not going to be a move, I think, this time around, but Marcos certainly trying to put Veloce Academy under pressure. Tom overtaking Macho and towards turn 1 as well. And that is the man that Avatar certainly hasn't forgot about. It's certainly someone that we've forgotten about. Tom there, 9-lap mediums compared to everyone else. Nando ahead of him's on 13-lap all mediums. Tom right now has got about 15% fresher tyres. Tom is flying through the field. And considering he didn't make it through into Q3, or he made it through into Q3 and qualified 10th, Tom has gained 4 positions. And I have a feeling, Jota, he's going to make a hell of a lot more before the end of the race.
Common Shazoo W, actually, this one, because I know that their strategy team are always on it, our Team Shazoo. So this is going to be a good effort here for Tom to potentially put some pressure on the front runners, especially considering that they're in that very close battle for 4th place at the moment. 3-second time penalty. First one of this race, by the way, going to ET8's Havmik at the moment down in 16th place. But unfortunately, it is quite common that we'd expect this from Matthew. He feels the pressure. He uses too much ERS, and this is something we've seen quite often from him, isn't it? Throughout the season, he uses too much ERS, he puts himself under too much pressure, and he loses positions, and he's going to start hemorrhaging positions from the likes of Yossi, I would expect, very soon, and potentially also Shazoo Tom, who I'm sure Yossi is going to be probably on the blower to his team about to say, where is Tom, and what can I do in order to get past the people in front of him first before they do?
Yeah, definitely so. Marcos on the back of Max. Max immediately to the right-hand side of the track. Wants no part in terms of a potential overtake. Marcos is wanting no part in terms of an overtake. And all of this, ladies and gentlemen in the chat, is going to get going in the final 2 laps of the race here in Japan on lap 25 of 27. Here's the final roll call. Probably will change before the end of tonight. Max leads the way for Marcos in 2nd. Matthew Hall in 3rd. With Yossi there in 4th. Nando and Tom rounding up the top 6 with Macho, Keki, Urpek and Hazara top 10. Then Gabor, Dan, Supply, Raptor, who's doing a great job there, by the way, in 13th. Drobble and Ogween there 14th and 15th for NBR. Then it's Havmik in 16th, Grimbo 17th, Endel there in 18th. Still staying out there in that set of mediums, by the way, further down the field. Full credit to him. And Joe Murphy there down in 19th position with that front wing damage, putting them completely on the back foot. BRT, I can certainly say in the Discord, not at all happy. But Max leading the way, Marcos 2nd, Matthew Hall there in 3rd. Get to the edge of your seat. Get your popcorn, get whatever you have in front of you right now, and be prepared for what's to come in the final 2 laps.
This is where I would expect now Markados's tyres are probably going to start to feel a little bit poor now, and now you can see he's not able to make as many inroads on Max Gross Point as he possibly can, but he is harvesting a lot of energy here, so I'm wondering if he's on a bit of a tyre save as well. Is Markados using whatever he's got left of those medium tyres to go to the end of this race? Gross Point there is going into the corners a little bit sheepishly, which would immediately tell me he's trying to get Markados to overtake him so he could get the DRS advantage at the end of this one. But Markados, your man for potentially winning this race, is certainly on the front foot, I would say, versus Max at the moment, despite the fact that Max has been showing the promise of potentially winning this race from day one, from the first corner, as Jose is starting to lose the rear end ever so slightly. I'm wondering if his hard tyres are now beginning to wear a little bit thin, which is obviously going to put a big smile on the face of Shizu Tom, but he's got to get past Nando first.
It definitely will. Max has been in a situation like this before. PSGL in Qatar this season was under pressure. There was a yellow flag, and that is for Enzo spinning. I might be thinking he's got a puncture. He's got a front right puncture. 22 level mediums. You have to try and make it somehow towards the end of the race. Tom is on the back of Nando, though, on the outside line and toward the hairpin. Not going to get that one done. Bit of contact for good measure on the front end, but Tom cannot find a way through on the back of Nando. Markados holding on the back of Max. And referencing what I was saying there about the Qatar race, Max was in exactly the same point in the lead of the race, and he got cocky on the final lap of the race, and he got overtaken and towards turn number one. Is this a sense of deja vu with Markados right in behind him? Markados, I think, was the one that took the race win that day as well in Qatar. And now Markados is on the back of Max. On to the final few kilometres of this race we will go. Max leading, Markados in second, Matthew Hall in third. Buckle up, it's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, buckle up indeed there. Interestingly enough, though, yellow flags being waved because of that punctured car of the Enzo, which meant that nobody could overtake through there. Markados, though, very keen to make that overtake. It was going to be easy peasy. Squeeze the lemon for Outplayed Races Markados, who now leads this race, but he's getting held up by an Aston Martin of Murphy, who, of course, retired from this race, and it looks like Yossi's had to go off of the circuit as a result of that one. Oh, my goodness me, there's a lot of big mix-up there, and that's all because Joe Murphy, of course, retired from this race in the pit lane, and that's absolutely fine, but his car did not ghost and cause people a little bit of a mix-up, but in the end, looks like everyone's got through pretty cleanly.
And as a result, Markados is scampering away out in front, 0.6 of a second, slightly fresher mediums compared to Max on that set of hards. Max now under pressure from himself. Veloce Academy going to be getting the 2-3, it seems, right now. Yossi not going to be out of this race as well. Urpek and Keki are side by side into the hairpin. Urpek tries to find a McLaren-shaped gap up the inside. Great switchback by Gabor, by the way, in the background. On the back of Azara, running through camera shot as we now come through the left-hander, in towards Spoon Curve, the double left, and Gabor's on the inside line, in towards Spoon Curve. Beautiful battle that. Brilliant stuff from Gabor. He's through and he's into 10th. Brilliant stuff, but Markados leading the way. He has held that to absolute perfection. Max is absolutely running out of ERS, but here comes Yossi on the back of Matthew Hall. Is this for podium finish for F7R? Going to try and go to the inside line now. Into the Casio triangle. Matthew Hall sees what's coming. Matthew Hall on the inside line. Tom might even get a podium here as well, and Tom's now coming at Matthew Hall for the line. Markados wins. Max goes forward in second, and Matthew Hall just about hangs third. Tom in fourth. It's 200ths of a second covering, and looking behind, 9,000s, 48,000s in behind as well. Macho Keki, Nando 5th, 6th, and 7th. Markados, though, takes the race where did everything right on the final lap of that race. Max there in second, Matthew Hall in third, Veloce Academy close, but no cigar. Markados takes the race win, and I get a prediction right.
Yeah, you got that prediction right, but I don't think Veloce are going to be keeping their double podium from that one. That incident with Matthew and Jose is going to be going immediately to the stewards. F7R lose points in their battle, which is going to allow Veloce to gain some time. And while that was all happening, by the way, one of the other remaining BRT driver got a 20-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags that I've got no doubt will get removed. So keep an eye out on the results of that one. Of course, that will be uploaded to our Twitter at WOR League. But I am going to firmly say here that podium that you see, that the top three that you're going to be witnessing right now, is not going to be the one come the next race in Abu Dhabi. That was a race and a half. I'm so proud to be back here.
Oh, I am proud to have you back alongside me as well. What a fantastic race that was. It is the German here in Japan taking the race win. It is Markados. Might have got the qualifying prediction a little bit wrong, but he takes the race win out on track. Interesting that you mentioned about the podiums. Max saying he was off put by the Aston Martin coming out of the pit lane. That was Joe Murphy. He'd already been overtaken, though, in towards turn number 1. So was that going to mean Max, in terms of the EOS coming back at him later on in the race? I don't think that. I think that's just trying to find an excuse out of nothing, to be honest. But Marquez out on top for Max there in second. Veloce Academy, though, deserve a lot of credit in that race. Second and third. Brilliant racing from them. Tom there in fourth with Macho there in fifth. Keki there in sixth. 9,000ths of a second off the back of Macho. Nando was only 400ths behind Keki. Then it's Erpek at 8th. Yossi there in 9th. Hazara there in 10th. And Dan 11th. Supply Raptor in 12th. Good points haul for him in the FRT team. Ogwin 13th. Drubble there in 14th. Only a 10th separating them. Havmik there in 15th. Gabor, you mentioned, was the one that getting the 20-second penalty. He's down there in 16th. Grimbles, then Enzo, Joe Murphy, and Axelinio running off the 20 drivers that we had out on track. What a phenomenal race that was. Marquez takes that race win, though. OP are back from 2 weeks of being outside the podiums. Marquez wins and absolutely deserved that. And Max, in the end, you've got to feel a case of what could have been.
What could have been, indeed. I mean, I'm a bit disappointed, to be fair, in that how that sort of race came to fruition at the end, because I think it was just that people getting their elbows out is fine, but don't do it when there's gravel traps around in that area, because it's just only going to result to a massive accident. In the end, I think the Gabba will end up getting that 20 seconds removed, which will put him one step in front of Jose. I don't expect Matthew to keep that third place. I think he's going to get penalised. He might get brought down, 4, 5, 6 positions, which are going to be a massive drop for Veloce, especially at the moment when they're battling with F7R, who of course have lost points now here, but outplayed racing. They played a blinder going onto that medium tyre for Marquez. I was not expecting them to look after the medium tyres as long as they did. He well deserves that victory. And of course, that now ends that little poor run of missing podiums. They've now finally got one. I would expect that maybe Outplayed Racing are going to be able to sort of bounce back off that one, but they need to get both players involved if they want to have any chance of securing this title, because F7R, especially after the back of the end of that race, they're going to be hot on the heels for the rest of this tournament.
They are indeed. I am just trying to get up the standings, which are getting updated right now by Mr. Luke Humphreys there in the chat. However, my YouTube app and my Google Sheets app have now decided to crash on themselves. So bear with me a second. I will try and get the updated standings. But what we can talk about, though, is the level of racing there, I think, was beyond what even I was expecting. I've commentated a couple of times around here in Japan on this game, and every single race was brilliant. And again, that is a brilliant race. Yes, there was a bit of contact. Yes, there was a bit of argy-bargy. It's racing at the end of the day, and it's racing around Japan, and I'm not sure what people might expect. Obviously, there's going to be stewards reports, but I think for at least the whole part of that race, we got a race that was deserving to be top tier, deserving to put you on the map back here in Legacy Division Jota as well. And I've got to say, what an absolute privilege it was to share that with you.
Yeah, what a privilege it is actually to be back with, yourself and the rest of the WOR team. I could only offer my personal thanks to everyone for the patience, of course, as I was on my sabbatical related to my mental health. It's been absolutely wonderful, the amount of support I've got from the community. So thank you so much for every single one of you on that one. As a result of that race, obviously, we're still waiting on the results coming in. I think a lot of people are as well, looking at the number of people that are currently in the sheets at the moment. As I said, I don't expect that these results that we're going to possibly tell you are going to be the final sort of stand-ins. I would expect there's probably going to be a few penalties, probably in the way of Veloce, in that scenario, if and when it does happen. The people that are going to benefit from that one are only going to be Outplayed Racing, because I think F7R have lost out big time. Their strategy was not right, and they are now coming off of the back of what was, a reasonably good run of 7 podiums in a row, and now going to be running away with only 8th and 9th, possibly 10th, when we incorporate that 20-second penalty for Gabba to be removed as well.
Yeah, definitely so. I'm not sure if the standings are fully done. Hopefully we can get confirmation from Mr. Luke Humphreys, either in the chat or indeed on Discord, but I am looking right now, and I think they are done. So as long as the go-ahead is given, I'm ready to read them out in terms of the standings. But what we can look forward to, though, is the final 3 races of the season as well for the calendar here in Legacy Division. And of course, we've got Abu Dhabi, which unfortunately, or fortunately, however you may look at it, I'm not here for next week because I am going to be rushing my way all the way back from York to try and get home for the Legacy Division race. I'm going to be there because it's my birthday and the Christmas market's on. So I'm going to be there for York instead of Abu Dhabi next week. And then it's Brazil and Las Vegas. And looking ahead towards next week, of course, you'll probably have Ross Greenhorn in the commentary box with you, Jota, next week. Abu Dhabi, final sprint race of the season. How are we thinking the action's going to happen around there? Because normally, from expectations that I've had around this track, Abu Dhabi is a track where not normally the standards of driving are that clean.
Well, historically, when it comes to the sprint races this season, all the teams have been a bit all over the place, haven't we? The last winners that we had were F7R and then Veloce, if I remember correctly. So in that scenario, you know, we do have a little bit of a mixed bag when it comes to your winners. So maybe Outplayed Racing could finally get their sprint race win that they're looking for, or maybe someone like Novus would be able to step forward and end up presenting themselves as a potential contender. Big shout out, though, to Team Shazoo, by the way. Obviously, we're still waiting on full confirmation that the standings are complete. If they are by the looks of things. You know, Team Shazoo have earned big time as a result of some fantastic strategy calls from that team.
They have indeed. I am going to run you through the championship standings as soon as I get them on my iPad, which is so slow, even makes me look quick, I've got to be honest, out on track. But we're going to get the standings up very, very shortly for you indeed. From what I read, it was Outplayed Racing leading the way by 57-point advantage, I think it was, over F7O. I'm just getting up right now to read this out here with 58-point advantage even. So Outplayed Racing leading the way on 425 points. F7R, because of their downfall, arguably here tonight in Japan, 367 points. Do not discount them out, though, for the race wins next week. Veloce Academy in third on 318. Given that they missed the first 5 races of the season, they've done a phenomenal job to get into third position in the championship. Team Shazoo now in fourth after their good points finish from Tom and Macho. Of course, all of this provisional. Team Shazoo in fourth on 267. Novus Racing fifth on 242. Bunga Racing Team sixth on 227. NLR Esports in 7th on 195, G League at 8th on 157, then it is Parnell Racing in 9th on 142, ET8 in 10th on 113, Future Racing Team on 100 after their good result from Dan and from Supply Raptor, Nexus Racing there in 12th still on the 35 points after only completing 1 round of the championship, but OP lead the way, 58-point advantage. They had a little bit of an off-season when it came to Qatar, where they finished no points, Saudi Arabia and Belgium, where they picked up a limited amount of points. But with F7R's downfall here in Japan, 3 rounds to go, including the sprint race, OP seem to have control right now.
Absolutely, but I think it's not just Outplayed Racing that have got control at the moment as regards to the top 3 by far. On paper, Veloce are the ones that are currently now probably in there with the best consistency, but I think there's still going to be some questions about this. Again, something that we've seen, I think, throughout this game, not just for Veloce, I think for a lot of teams across the board, when it comes, simply put, to people's ability to make sure that their racecraft is stable. We see towards the end, there was a lot of pressure. I would have expected there would have been a mistake from Matthew, who was under a lot of pressure throughout that race. I think there's probably a penalty on his way, and I think all of that information, of course, will be available at WOR League _ on X, as it is now known as. But that is about it from me, I think. I don't know if you've got anything else you want to say, James?
No, absolutely nothing else from me for the stream, bar, though, saying thank you to every single one of you for tuning into the stream. Really, really appreciate it, of course, as always, and hopefully with the final 3 rounds of the championship. And with the absence of me next week, you'll get more viewers as well. But we're going to end it off here, and I'm going to let Jota, because he's in control of the stream, do the honours.
Well, no, he's the GOAT, not me. Hang on, he's the GOAT. There we go. I'll point it in the right direction there. Thank you very much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure to be alongside you again, once again, after my sabbatical. I can't wait to be alongside all of you once again in a week's time, and of course with yourself, James, in a couple of weeks, of course, in Brazil. For myself and the rest of the team here in WOR, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.